What's up, everybody? This is Carrick with ACG, and I'm here with Johnny. Hopefully my audio isn't coming through these shitty-ass open-eared headphones. Thank you very much for showing up, sitting down, talking through your Friday once again with us. What episode are we on? 571?
571.
571.
Going for 600.
Yep.
Goddamn.
We're going for 6-7, baby. 6-7. The number of oblivion. If we get to anything with 6-7 in it, we should just stop. Ooh,
the thing that literally doesn't mean anything now.
Yeah.
That people put in TikToks.
Dude, it's like I'm wearing digital camo. Watch this.
Oh.
I've been having all kinds of issues with this recent NVIDIA driver. It's been absolutely just ball sack. And a dog's laying right on the wire. That's good. Anyway, it's been absolutely ball sack for me. Just completely almost unusable driver for NVIDIA. I don't know what it is. Everything's barely held together. I may have to change the color of my shirt because this thing's just absolutely. You know what? I should put a sweater. You know, like a night.
Yeah.
You know, like preppies. Tie a sweater. Hang on. What's this one's red? Oh no.
Is there a perfect color that contrasts with the green or whatever, like the
it's
background?
not a green screen, it's just a white background, but I forgot when I put on my camo shirt, my white skeleton camo. Here, let me tie my I'll wear a shawl like an old lady.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. That is the first time that's ever happened. Carrick is wearing a shawl.
Give me 1 second. We'll figure this shit.
Yeah.
What?
Welcome in, everybody. Tell us a little bit about your week, what you guys are playing. Get warmed up in here. What a banger today. That's a lot of weeks. Yeah. 571. That's a number bigger than I can process in my brain right now. Looks like he's running Unreal 5. Yeah, hence the driver issues.
We almost had a nude moment there for a second.
Damn, actually got an outfit change. Maybe the first one ever.
Yeah, I got my Moon Man fucking hoodie. I actually dig this thing, man. I'm not a big fan of like game hoodies or anything, but like the space hoodies on Amazon and shit. But I think the system I chose to do this background removal was low level because I'm doing a bunch of server stuff in the background. So I was like, don't want to do it performance, but I think that was a mistake. I think I should have put more CPUs to it. Yeah, I have a bunch of sweatshirts just laying around from the people I kill. You have to remove the body, but it's no big deal. Definitely. What have you been doing?
Playing a bunch of games, playing some League, some Outer Worlds 2, a little bit of Lords of the Fallen with my friend, doing a bit of co-op in that. But really, I've been just excited for the Neo 3 demo, so I haven't started anything in the meantime. And that dropped today, so I was playing that. It's been great, like a kid in Christmas kind of deal.
You know, I think my mic is picking you up. I just saw it flicker in there, so I'll turn that down a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
It's I think Neo might be one of those times that we look at it and it's pretty easy to think of it as a good end to the Dark Souls the way it is, and a good refresher on the idea that the revolution the Dark Souls style games gave us or gave people needs to be done to Dark Souls itself. I think when you see enemies spin around in place that are bosses and you see the lack of a lot of the improvements we see elsewhere in gaming, they really haven't made it in. You know, you've seen 2.5 style stuff, open world stuff, open field for Neo 3. I think especially if they can nail the ease of people getting into the game, you're going to have a lot of people going in who are really enjoying it, but also wondering why the typical improvements that are elsewhere, pretty much worldwide in games, unless they're a bad game, are not in those titles. Those titles are notoriously cranky and creepy and creaky and just consistently have like a lack of animation and mechanical polish in places that they should by now. And so I think I think if Neo 3 nails it all, it'll be a good sort of end of the original trilogy, and that maybe we start seeing some improvements going into the next ones. Improvements with like a boss that doesn't spin in place with their feet, not even animated.
Yeah.
And some of that kind of stuff where we're getting 5 to 6 of these a year minimum. And we're getting 4 of those, 3 or 4 of those are AAA level, or whatever people would deem as being the larger company levels. I think it's time. I think it's fair to say that, regardless if you like it or not, it's fair to say that the revolution that they brought needs to be brought to them. Like,
I think Elden Ring pushed the envelope a bit more, especially the DLC. They had some really interesting movesets in bosses and stuff. But certainly a lot of the games
still did all that thing. They still did what I'm talking about. Where the what I mean by this is, it's not that somebody hasn't done more.
Like
it's
the floaty stuff.
The core base has not been improved since Dark Souls 1. I mean, it's weird to see the same stuff in all these games, which is like the Genera movement. They haven't figured it out. Even if they adjust the way in which it comes together. Do you know who came close? It's not Elden Ring. It's, weirdly enough, Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong did a pretty good job, still had sliding, still had a lot of that quick twist, still had a lot of those enemies that could hit you even if they weren't even near you or behind you or you were behind them, but it still tried. I guess that's what I'm saying, because I agree. That's why I mentioned Elden Ring. I do think Elden Ring stepped it up with the open world part, and they do good with the player. It's outside of that after a while, if you're not caught up in the attack move and you look around, you're like, damn, this is some old ass looking stuff. And we're going to talk about it, if that's fair for me to say, because recently, a game developer went out on Twitter and told everybody that they shouldn't say anything bad about games or something to that effect. We're going to cover that in the news.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just rude of me to say. Maybe I should be like, everything is.
Well,
everything
certainly
is awesome.
A lot of enemies are like that. Your humanoid enemies you run into, they have the basic sword moveset and stuff, and they're kind of like floating around. 100%. There are some exceptions where they have some incredible animations, but the engine is still that, that same identifiable thing where people are sliding on top of the world rather than actually like walking on it in a way. It's always been that way.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it happens. I mean, some people won't care at all. They'll just be like, as long as we get something, that's all that.
But one thing you touched on is the ease, or I guess, like how easy it is for a new person to get into it. I think Neo 3 does a pretty good job with tutorials at least in the demo. And they have a really good system where you can look back in the encyclopedia. So if you forgot, like, what was this thing, or like, what did I have to do to proc that? You can kind of go back and see it very clearly. It might be like one of the best examples that I can think of a game like that trying to teach those mechanics and stuff.
Yeah, we're at that point where all these games need to teach the mechanics right away. Can't have any more of this shit where like the what do you call it aren't done, the tutorials aren't done well. The mechanics aren't taught well. I will say, I'm sure you've noticed with Neo, a shit ton of insanely good skills for the for the weapons. I think a lot of people are going to be impressed with that, but we'll have to see. Man, a
lot of quality of life
is freaking out. It really is. It's weird today. I don't know what it is. I apologize. I mean, it's not like anybody needs to see my ugly mug. What were you saying?
That they added a lot of quality of life compared to the prior games that I've seen so far. Yeah. Some of it that I almost wonder if it went too far. Has science gone too far?
Wait,
but like some stuff, for example, you can. I don't want to reveal too much, but for example, you can freely respec at any point. So you can just reallocate all your stat points at any point. With that, you don't need a consumable. There's not like something you need to do. You just go in there, you change your stats completely. You can respec your entire tree at any point as well. So if you decide to become an Odachi main suddenly, you can go in there and dial that in. And as much as I love that, because I love experimenting with the different weapons, I also did like we always talk about the committal thing, where you're kind of like trailing your own journey by making a choice on what stats you're putting down. So I think it's still a positive, but it is one of those things I think about sometimes. Is there something lost with the baby? No, not the baby water.
You mean
with the bath water?
Throw the baby out with the bath water.
Throw the baby with the bath water, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I get that. I don't know what I think on that. Yeah, I've always disliked or found that respecking and stuff. I'm sort of I sort of like the Iron Man mode of, you got to be what you are and figure it out. But I think you and I are on the, we're like the low end of the totem pole on that. I just don't think people agree with us. And for the most
I don't
part,
think so. I think also
it's semantic between me and you versus or game reviewers or people who want to talk about games in depth, but most people probably just view it as a positive. That's my guess.
Yeah. I think also you and I have a bit more of a organic way to play a game. Not that it's good or bad, by the way, but just in the sense that it is what it is. It's emergent. You're kind of flowing with it, and then you make the best with what you got. But a lot of people like Cowboy, a lot of these great like build creators, they're thinking about awesome builds and stuff. And so for them, they need this type of stuff to really dial it in and experiment. And so I think the game caters a lot more to those people.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Neo 1, Neo 2, they have 40, 50, 60 different things that basically merge and all that shit that sort of come together for a single build, which is a lot for a newcomer.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's a lot for anybody. I mean, it usually even requires, I've talked to Cowboy about it, it requires a lot of testing. I mean, whenever I'm reviewing them, I'm like, all right, so what is an A+ affinity with a D- skill and a shitty health do? If just all these weird things that can pop up and sort of become this death-defying idea of trying to figure a game out before you get tired. That's the thing. Is like you got to figure a way to get through that game part of the tutorials quickly enough that you don't get tired of the tutorials, but not quick enough that you don't pick up whatever it is.
Right. I think that's what I liked about the encyclopedia, because I found it was actually practical to go back after if you did miss something in the moment. If later you were like, wait, what was that thing? I kind of forgot that. It's really clearly explained.
And the encyclopedia was what? I just turned way down. Sorry.
No worries.
I have no clue what's going on in my system right now, man. Okay, there we go.
We're rolling with it.
I apologize.
So good.
What?
So they have this record of tutorials they give you. So the tutorials are these 2 or 3 paragraphs explaining a mechanic, and those are recorded in some type of encyclopedia that you can go back to. But it's really well identified. So you can kind of find very easily what you're looking for. And it's actually quite practical to go back to it when you forget something.
Yeah, understood. What else have you been playing this week?
Honestly, that's been it. Outer Worlds. I was playing a bit of that with you guys in chat. And then some Lords of the Fallen, some League. That's been it, really. Taking a bit easy this week.
And let's be honest, when you say a little bit, you mean a little bit. You come in for like fucking, just by the time I get like a sandwich ready or something, you're already like fucking, bye guys, it's been great. We were laughing about that a couple days ago.
I hung out there 2 hours, man.
One time for 2 hours. Admittedly, that time was 2 hours, but
Saturday and Sunday,
hilarious.
2 hours, man.
Okay,
your sandwich takes a long ass time, bro.
No, well, that's what she said. I think 2 hours, that's good. But most of the time, we'll be in there, and you'll pop in, and I'll pop in, and you'll be streaming something like fucking 20 minutes later. You'll be like, all right, well, good time, guys. I got to go. Yeah, I think so. I think,
some time dilation going on. I think
you actually got called out by somebody that isn't called Garrick, too, recently. Well, when you left, somebody was like, damn, Johnny, that motherfucker does not stay in here very long. And I was like, haha, vindicated. I'm just joking.
I do get quite restless. I'm someone who is, because there's so many things I want to do. Like, I want to go work on a song. I want to like go read a bit. I want to like watch a show. So what I do very often is that I'll put like down a timer. I have like a physical timer for like, and I can do this like 30 minutes, 1 hour, and I'll allocate chunks of time to stuff. So I might say, I'm going to sit down and play Outer Worlds for an hour. And then I'm sort of fully focused on that. I'm not going to be distracted by other stuff. And then after that, I kind of reassess. And sometimes I decide I want to go do something else.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I get that. That's there's nothing wrong with those kind of things. It's just funny because you're so far ahead of me hours wise that it's
that's true as well. Yeah, because it's the end of my day when I jump in there, but you're just starting your day.
Yep. Well, I mean, not really, but
no, because you start early.
I was gonna say I probably start somehow before you do. Yeah. I was thinking about that. So I wake up 3:30 every morning. Am I starting before you? No, you've been up for at least an hour or two by then.
Yeah, because that's already like 11 my time, and I wake up at 7:30. But you're not far off. Yeah, because I mean your hours are crazy.
And you are way ahead of me. Let's see. This week I've been, I've just been running around playing. I mean, I am doing a couple review games, but the non-review stuff has just been. It's actually been watching people play a lot. Book has been doing the simulator, what is that one called? The realistic simulator that he does for racing. So I've been watching a crap ton of that, and then we played a bunch of Hunt Showdown. That was fun.
Is that the new? Didn't they release a new?
Yeah, they did.
Patch?
They did they did a I guess you'd say like a soft reboot, but they've already, I don't know how many times that game's already done a soft reboot, but they added a number designator at the end, like an 1886 or something. I can't remember. And, but it's still arbitrarily, it's still the same thing. You're still going out there. You're still shooting people. You're still getting shot. It was fun to play. I like the Western aesthetic. It's got like 123 characters, which is pretty cool because they're all actually well done.
You told me the other day, that's nuts to me because that's what League has more or less. And they've been at it for, 13 years or 15 years.
Yeah, the biggest problem is that they're paid, many of them, not all of them, but many are. You can rent them, basically, is like a rental system. So there is slavery in that game, apparently. Well, I guess rental, you're paying them. So that's not really slavery. It's just really bad wage slave kind of thing. But you basically can pay them and play them for a small amount of time. But their DLC isn't necessarily cheap either. Their DLC is actually not 100% acceptable to me. There's times where I look at some of the stuff and I'm like, dude, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm not super into it. And I love the idea that if you like a game like that, you do have 123 or some odd,
Damn.
It seems like 123. I think somebody counted it, but you've got
in-game currency doesn't work for unlocking
in-game currency does
characters?
Unlock for some stuff, yeah, and I don't know if you can unlock everything because I really haven't tried, as in, can you unlock every character? But every time I click on a character that I don't have in DLC, it doesn't say, do you want to buy it with real cash? It says, this is available via DLC. Yeah, so not really a big fan of that. I think every game, even if it's super expensive, even if it requires you to grind away, it would be nice if everything was doable in game. Just to,
Agreed.
You're rewarding somebody who wants to play, and there are people out there who have put 500-600 hours in something.
Yeah.
Just because they
I think it buys you a lot more goodwill if you can get that stuff in game and then pay for skins and other, optional stuff.
Agreed. What else do we got going on this week before we jump into the news? It's been a weird one, actually, for games and news, man. It's actually been a really odd week. It was sort of dead, and then just a lot of backbiting from devs, which we'll talk about a couple. But I saw some more this morning. I think that's probably related to all the layoffs where the stress is getting really high. Did you see the report this morning? They said that a third of the game industry has been laid off.
I did. In the US, that was incredible.
Johnny, I would love to see if a third of the game industry got hired during COVID. I'm not saying I'm saying I would like to know what
so it's
percentage.
Just walking back
well, I don't think it's all walking back. You know what I mean, though. It would be nice to see
a little bit,
because otherwise it offers a somewhat specific.
It's maybe not the full picture.
It's not the full picture. Yeah, it's not the full picture. Not necessarily either way is it a good picture, though. I mean, it does show that,
either way, it's kind of a shitty picture.
Yeah, especially when it comes to how we're dealing with, or how people are dealing with layoffs and stuff, how companies are, having it dealt for them. I mean, it's pretty rough to show up and think you have a job. And my company was nice enough to lay me off on a Friday, which sounds weird that that's nice, but that means I didn't have to sit through the week knowing people were at work or whatever. It was just like I worked the entire week. I mean, they let me grab my stuff. I still had server access for like 3 weeks. It was a true paid for, where the money was just not there. But nobody likes that shit. It sucks. And a third of anything, I mean, that's a lot. That's like not a small number of people being laid off. And then that means those people won't be going to events. So think about it that way too. You got GDC coming up. I saw some people saying they were worried about GDC because safety or something. I don't know if that's because they're worried about a riot or the riots that because of the ICE thing. If that's what they're worried about, if they're worried about something else. I think some people are saying they were worried about coming here and they thought they'd be deported right away. And I was like, well, dude, I mean, we'd deport you back to your place. I don't know what that means. I don't luckily have that issue, but there were some very valid worries on people's side. And it sounded like GDC was worried they were going to have less people show up, which again, valid, especially if you're traveling somewhere. I mean, if I was going international to Gamescom, you got to look at wherever you're traveling these days. It's not even just here. It's anywhere. You have to look at what's going on I mean, shit, dude, I would do that if it was a state, let alone international. You got to look around and go do they hate bearded people? You never quite know, man. They're like, this particular area has a distinct problem.
I mean, Japan, they're not a fan of beards,
and beanies. Man. Beard and beanies, they're not. Yeah. I would look much more like a biker and the dirty heathen biker than would be like.
They might sell you some ramen, but for some other stuff,
you're just not. Your cash. You still sell to the person that you dislike. I mean, some people be like, I'm not making you a cake because you're a biker, whatever. But I mean, they better still sell me a little tiny itsy bitsy $15 bowl of noodles.
The burger, right? Remember the burger Red showed us? It was tiny.
That shit was awesome. Let's talk about Highguard. Let's do some games. So Highguard, I was gonna do a clickbaity thing, Highguard, low blows, whatever, do some clickbaity on the thumbnail, but ultimately
not bad. Okay.
The game's cratered in numbers. It got some review bombing for sure, plus some, I'm sure, valid reviews. I saw some complaints about some stuff, so then I went and read reviews on it. I guess you'd call them professional, but you know what I mean. They work at a website, what have you. Read the reviews. Steam is at 3, I think. So what is that? Mostly
negative.
Mostly negative at one point. Which is always weird if it's 1 to 5 and 3 is anyway. Doesn't matter. I don't remember enough about Steam's rating system, but yeah, it was getting sort of crapped on. But the people I talked to were like, it is a game. seems to be pretty okay. Doesn't really do anything great, doesn't really do anything poorly. However, this morning there was another news article from the CEO who stated we're disappointed in our performance, and it was supposed to be a shadow drop. And then Jeff Keighley went and saw it and said, instead, let's put it at the end of the trailer. Two things I want to point out about that. One, really nice of him. Regardless if he should have probably made him, it was weird that some people had to pay and then randomly somebody doesn't. And I think it shows, once again, moralizing that certain groups are better than others. You magically now have one group that didn't have to pay at all to have their trailer there. But it's turned around and burned them pretty badly. They were going to do a shadow drop. Yeah. And weirdly enough, Johnny, I think a shadow drop would have actually been better because they ended up going quiet for a month after the Game Awards. And so all there was just chatter of, what is this? There was no hands-on. It was just mystery. And mystery doesn't work well when you have a lot to fill the mystery in with guesses. And we did. Open team-based heroes. We have a lot of examples of bad ones to where we can fill in the mystery. And it's weird because
we can project this. A lot of bad stuff.
Yeah, and any marketer or whatever would look at that and be like, guys, we can't leave them with mystery is the worst thing possible. Somebody will deal something shitty if they know the time, but if they don't, and it's a good thing, they'll still be mad if there's a mystery. Like, it's way worse. So
I saw a marketer talk about it.
Did you?
She was describing it as,
what'd they say?
If you don't set the narrative of what the game is and what's going on, then others will for you. And in this case, like you said, there's so much negative that people can inject so easily from other bad cases of this type of game that that's just the path of least resistance. It was for people to, project all that stuff.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just that empty space. Yeah, it was not a good thing. The third thing I want to point out is also, listen, I truly do. I would have him on. I don't have an issue with Jeff at all, but I do feel that because he's the focus, it shows exactly what I talked about prior to the Game Awards, that I was like, there's too many things that people cater to him for, or that he has that ability to make a big dramatic impact, and we see one of the bad ones occur. Again, I want to point out, I think if anybody looked at this situation, they would have said, we can be on the Game Awards? Hell yeah. You take a chance. It doesn't mean all chances will work. Even if they reversed it and did a shadow drop, we'll never know if that would have worked. It may not have worked at all. But
it's not something you could say no to, realistically.
I don't think so, yeah.
If you're in that position.
Right. And it shows... But it does show that, like, we're getting to a point to where, man, the moralizing about, these kind of devs, how many people work here, they made the other mistakes where they were like, this is the debut indie game, found out it wasn't the debut indie game at all. So we're in this situation where it feels like the Game Awards is getting a little skewy, where the sine wave is starting to get messy, where instead of it's just like, the rhythm is there and you can understand what the plan is and plot is, it's getting messier and messier each year. So we'll have to see if next year they sort of calm it down. We've seen it with the Oscars. We've seen it with other award shows where they go out of control a little bit. Things start getting squirrely. Then they bring it back and they sort of not legitimize it, but sort of calm it down. And I don't know much about Highguard other than it seemed pretty average. So, there is that. But it brought on another situation. At least, apparently, it was this game that brought it on. Sven from Baldur's Gate decided to pop on to Twitter. Now, did you see this news?
I believe so.
Okay, do you want me to read it? Or, well, I'll read it for everybody.
Go for it.
So you think you did see the news?
I mean, I saw some stuff pop about him where I don't think I got the full context. I think I basically saw a regurgitation of the prior thing with the AMA he did on Reddit.
Yeah, no worries. So let me bring this up. Sorry if those typings is loud. All right, so this is an interesting situation because it sort of went with number one, our thought process, which is that we've talked about in the Discord and we've talked about in the podcast, where it's pretty interesting that even PR companies outside of gaming have been stating that it feels like the Baldur's Gate, the company is starting to see the flip around of being too popular, which is pretty American, but it's also happening everywhere. In fact, the people I talked to weren't American who brought this up. But it's interesting because it's very difficult to say anything when you're on top, right? Usually it comes off weird. That's just the way it is. So he ended up posting a pretty long diatribe about the entire situation with reviews. And his first post was, there's plenty of games I genuinely don't like playing, and there are many I know are made for the wrong reasons. However, it's incredibly rare for one to be made without there being someone behind it that truly cared about what they were making. Now, he deleted the other, which started talking about how he believes that reviewers should be reviewed like a Metacritic. And I want to talk about that because I think it's actually interesting. He says, sometimes I think it'd be a good idea for critics to be scored Metacritic style based on how others evaluate their criticism. I like to imagine it would encourage a bit more restraint. The harsh words do real damage. You shouldn't have to grow callous on your soul just because you want to publish something. Let me point two things out. Reviewers are already reviewed. Reviewers are reviewed via public sentiment already. We have positives and negatives on thumbs up and thumbs down. We have hearts if you have a forum. We have comments if you have forum. You have YouTube comments. So it was really weird that somebody who's in charge of one of the biggest game companies, at least recently, didn't think that through and realize that they already are. And you could assume that Metacritic in a way, or YouTube in a way, handles things like Metacritic because it won't front reviews that have a ton of thumbs down, even if you can't see the thumbs downs, if people click off of them quickly. So technically, via the mob, via popular sentiment, we are reviewed. I saw somebody, I don't know who it was, another reviewer said something like, you should try getting decades of hate emails and stuff like that. We shouldn't do this. And I'm like, that's a weird thing to say because you're talking to a developer who I'm sure gets their fair share of the exact same thing. That's really a it really, I think that's more the emotional part of that discussion and has nothing to do with the actual factual parts of this. You can get emotional and say, I don't want to get hate mail. Nobody does. I mean, that I know of. But that's really neither here nor there. And I think, in fact, it's sort of a deflection and sort of like a boo-hoo, whose hell is worst kind of discussion. Yeah. It really doesn't matter. But when you talk about if they're reviewed, reviewers are. Now, I think a Metacritic would be awesome for reviewers that handled factual context. Did they get facts wrong? That kind of stuff. If you left it open to, like, let's say Steam style, so the reviewer posts something and Steam allows it. That already happens on forums where somebody comes in and says, terrible review. He didn't like this, or Carrick loved beating up kids in Yakuza, bad person, giving him a thumbs down, not listening to the rest. And I'm like, no, I love beating up children. I think it's awesome, even outside of gaming. If possible, yes, for sure. I'm just joking. But you see what I'm saying? So we're already sort of reviewed. He went on to talk about, you shouldn't go after the developers. I think that's generically pretty correct. As somebody who's teased the occasional developer via their title and been like, whoever's working on the AI did all the, LSD. I think most people can assume that's more hyperbole than real, but I do understand where he's coming from on the idea that, and we've seen it, games we like, dislike, sometimes, I'll be in our chat and I'll be like, guys, can we move on? We've been here for 4 hours, bitching about whatever game. Also, he says that, there's almost no game that is really bad, and that I disagree with. In fact, I don't even know how you can look at Gollum. I don't know how you can look at Cyberpunk Day One with the bugs, whether you liked whatever gameplay they promised was actually in the game, regardless. Afro Samurai. We saw, what was the other one? There was another one that came out recently that was, the Purple Violet game or whatever. That game that came out like last month.
Code Violet.
Violet. Callisto Protocol. Those are truly bad games. As in, they have a
Agreed.
shit ton of issues, and they shouldn't be any. Hunter Simulator had issues where I had to basically say, yeah, this isn't, you probably shouldn't get this. So I don't agree with him at all on that, but I do agree with him the idea of like, you shouldn't technically go after the developer because you're really going after one person, and there's probably 8,000 people who work there.
Like that. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. Now, I think he probably got really tired of seeing the BioWare Dragon Age discussion, about the writing. And I think that writers are the target right now. I think it's pretty fair for all of us to look and go, when it comes to tech stuff, there's no one technician on a game. So it's very hard to go after them. But when somebody's named as lead writer,
yeah,
it's,
and a lot of times, let's be honest, when we say like the voice acting sucked, a lot of times to soften the blow, we might say something like, it's probably not fault of the actor, but of the writing. At least it's something I've heard a lot in reviews, as if to soften the blow. But you're actually just dealing the blow to the writer instead of the actor.
Yeah. I mean, you're sort of just adjusting whatever it is that, it's sort of the same thing regardless, right? So let's read.
It's a tricky balance.
Super chat here first before we continue. It is very much a tricky balance. I would go so far as to say it may be as close to impossible as we're at right now. Jet Black Ninja 999 super chat. Thank you very much. Nothing like throwing on a Friday podcast in the background while I wrap up the work week. Excuse my absence. Next week, Neo 3 will take over my weekend. When is Neo 3's release date?
6th of February. The demo is out today.
Yeah, it was out yesterday, actually. A bunch of us played it.
Oh, yeah. Carries over to the main game. So get in there, guys. Create your waifu.
Yeah. So, again, I want to point out, I sort of agree that if you want to review, context and stuff, if facts, did Carrick get a fact wrong? Did he say there were 12 weapons and there's 24? That's a big deal, right? That's a big deal. That one guy who said there was horse riding in the game, there was no fucking horse riding, right? That's a big deal. That's something. But I do feel that just by the way that they're done, there's already a review system, especially because it's pretty focused in. I mean, whether the video doesn't get topped up and people see it, or whether the thumbs down are there or the comments are there or people don't watch it all the way, you're sort of getting reviewed anyway, and you're getting the same kind of review bombs Steam gets. I mean, I get them, everybody gets them, so I don't necessarily know where he's going with that part.
I think it's somewhat built in, because if you make a review that's, let's say, below the belt, you're just kind of going ham on one person and you're being really inappropriate or something, that video probably isn't going to do very well. And so the system has a way of people would manifest negative feelings toward that video, probably. The interesting question is if it does well because of that, and if people are actually seeking that type of, negative, super critical content, is it valid for people to cater to that? I don't know. It's a weird dynamic in my mind, because we would like to discourage that type of, attacking specific people, and yet on YouTube, to some extent, people do what the audience craves. Not everyone, but
I wish I did. One of these days, I'm just going to hand over the titles and thumbnails, because I had a bunch of clickbait on the thumbnail. I was like, because the podcast is very steady. When I look at Anchor and I see our subscription rates every month, I'm like, holy shit, that's the steadiest I've ever seen. It just continues to climb a little bit. Or YouTube continues to climb. I'm like, you know what? It's not it's not like when I started the channel where I would put a review up and get 5,000 subscribers. in one review. And there's something very aggressively over the top about that, but also less you can bet on it. And I sort of now, at least on this kind of stuff, do what you can bet on. But when I look at, like, let's say thematic discussions that are pretending to be reviews, I don't know if I agree with that all the time. I'll see ones where you can tell that they're not reviewing the game. They're reviewing a political situation around the game. So the factualness of titles and the lack of need to do it is sort of a shitter. But at the same time,
it is.
At the same time, everything in the world is like that. So what can you do? I think what happened with Sven is, and I'm not speaking for him, I'm literally saying ESP wise, just like looking at him and going, what do I think was going on? I think he saw some friends getting banged on, and probably has for a while, and isn't seeing the other stuff. He's on Twitter a lot. He's on Twitter a ton. And what are you going to see on Twitter?
So the negative stuff pops up.
You're not going to see people going, hey, man, game was okay. Really enjoyed it. Because those don't front. There's no front on those. They don't go out. We know that to be true. By the way, don't know if anybody saw this. Technically, the algorithm for Grok/Twitter got released on GitHub, and you can see how and what the steps it takes for how a tweet can be adjusted, or the hypothetical of, will it be a hype bomb? Will it explode kind of thing? And you can sort of read up on it. Thank you, Baseball Gear, by the way, who was the one who posted that in our Discord. That was highly interesting. So, yeah, it puts those up front, right? But yeah, I'm sure he saw it. Weirdly enough, with Highguard, I can't believe anybody was overly negative. I think overly negative requires something to, like, be bad, or in the absence of, or have a distinct absence of, like, highs. And it seems, well, maybe that's what it is, but it seems like that game is sort of midline, and the idea of going after, let's say, a developer for that game is weird. But he could have reacted to a carte blanche, like, forum where people are like, I can't believe they released Highguard, and he got mad about it, which happens. He's an artist. It's going to happen, right? They put a lot of heart into their stuff, and the kind of thing is, I mean, I still appreciate it, even though I don't think he was right on a lot of that stuff. I think that, he was just saying his piece.
It's one of those things that sounds great on paper. If you had a third party evaluating reviewers, and you had a really good rating of accuracy, I don't know, reliability, you could think of some metrics. But whoever is thinking up the metrics and judging you on them, then now you're subject to their opinion. So now we need to decide, okay, who's the right group of people to make that judgment? Because it's almost the same type of problem where, it's still not reliable. It's just moving the goalpost.
I think it's sort of the same, but I think one of the biggest problems is this. When I say a game sucks, I'm going to tell you that the A button doesn't work when it should. If you say Carrick sucks because he jokes too much, that is a completely different thing for a rating system, if you get my drift. One is some subjectively weird contextual thing where a person doesn't like a person's attitude or whatever, where on the other hand, we're talking about true tech stuff a lot of times. Like, a lot of times, to be honest, I'll play a game that isn't good, and it's not just not good because of story or content or blah, blah, blah. It's because the gameplay isn't good. Things don't work. There are bugs. It's easier to review a game because you can look at those, and I can prove those with video. You can say, I fell through the floor 50 times. That is bad. But if somebody says, oh, man, Carrick made a dick joke, I'm going to put it on reviewer Metacritic. Well, then you're like, those are one's factual. I mean, Callisto Protocol had very factual problems with it, which again is why I said for reviews, you'd have to review via fact. You'd have to be like, did they get their facts wrong? The rest of it's just objective, subjective, mixed in with one another, and becomes a disaster.
So the goal would be that if the developer of the game you are reviewing watches your review, they come out of it thinking that it was a fair review, positive or negative, that at least they would feel like you justified your points. It was like factual information you brought up. It wasn't just like something you got wrong or missed. That would be maybe the thing. So maybe if people voted on like fairness,
it wouldn't even be fairness and accuracy, but it wouldn't even be enough data to really be a good context to aggregate.
Because would everybody vote? Would developers? No. You know what I mean?
And you want me to tell you something even creepier? And we've seen it, and there are examples of this that you can go out and see right now. If you're wrong, but you like a game, very high chance no one will say anything at that company. If you are wrong and you like a game and you're wrong on the embargo and you pump up the game, there's a very high chance they will mistakenly miss bringing that video down.
Just let it
ride. Yeah. And by the way, totally understand. In no way, I don't even think that's, I mean, is it
just being pragmatic?
It's
makes sense,
Yeah. It's just being the way it is, right? Spanky Steve. Spanky Steve. Spanky Steve sounds, I don't know. Spanky's
good.
Spanky's a different one. All right, so let me read this. Spanky, what's he saying? All right, so Spanky says, oh, I missed it. A few weeks ago, I mentioned the conflict games. I was referring to the old conflict, Desert Storm, Vietnam, Global Terror. They are like SOCOM, but split screen. Did you have a question about it? Don't do another super chat. Did you ask a question and like we didn't get to it, or were you asking us if we liked it? Just Johnny, can you keep an eye on chat if he responds again?
I forgot the context last time about that.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I should say, if you want to see basically a review already for reviewers, just use OpenCritic. It'll show you the scores. I mean, it's close enough. You can just look and go, Carrick doesn't like Ubisoft games because they're all wait for a sale or don't touch. Boy, my shirt went out of control on that one. Man, this camo day is awesome. Camo day. Dude, what if I was slowly deleting like in Back to the Future and we didn't know? You know, like the picture that Michael J. Fox shows? And he's slowly deleting. Maybe that's what's happening to me, man. I don't know where I would go, though.
You're actually a digital entity, and we're just losing bytes of you over time.
Oh, dude. That might be actually true. I mean, how much of us are real and how much are that, you know, the representation online, stuff like that? Probably nothing. What if I'm a 19-year-old girl? Well, that would be creepy because I would have been 9 when I started YouTube.
Yeah.
That would have been making the jokes I make at 9. That would have been one sexualized child. That would have been creepy as shit. So thank God I'm not. What else do we got?
Speaking of OpenCritic, by the way, Cairn, that climbing game, came out, and it's doing really well on OpenCritic. 90% critics recommend, 87 top critic average.
A lot of climbing games lately.
I gotta say, I think people are biased. People they like the climbing games because they keep getting good reviews.
Do you know what I think it is too? I think it's just that they're new. I mean, it's a new game. It's something new. People like something new. So they just...
Yeah, I think that whole genre is...
We saw bicycle stuff catch on for a while where people were doing the mountain biking down hills. You know what I mean? Like, it's a new sport right now. It'll catch on, and they're doing a great job with them. But at some point, you'll see somebody try to regurgitate it, and you'll be like, oh, those sales weren't as good. And then we'll move on to another sport. What's the next sport? What's the next sport? Let's go with the next sport outside of rock climbing. What's the next sport we could see catching on? Water sports? Joking. I knew that was going to say it. I knew
not that kind of water sport. I couldn't even control
myself. It was already in my brain. What's the next sport?
But jokes aside, I mean, water sports could be a thing, like either jet skis or,
okay.
Windsurfing, this type of stuff.
Jet skis would be awesome because Jet Moto was amazing. The old Jet Moto game.
Now, one thing that I thought about with windsurfing is that you have to do some really specific motions with your hands and feet.
I played the shit out of a windsurfing game.
Oh, did you?
No, I'm sorry. I meant I would
Oh,
play.
you would?
I would play. Yeah, oh, yeah, dude. I like surfboards too. Like I would, any of the water sports games, doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
It's ruined. But any of the water sports games, dude, I'm in for. TNC
I think
Town
I would
and
as
Country
well,
had a surf game on the SNES or NES, man, and on the Jaguar, if I remember right.
Yeah.
We're talking some ancient ass games.
Yeah, those are up for a
They're up for a rehash. Yeah, see those things pop back. That'd be great, man. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Because this thing with controlling your limbs that like Karen does and these games do, I think could work really well with those.
Can I briefly admit when you said Karen, I thought you were saying Karen, and I thought it was a game where you were a Karen, and I was like, what?
Brilliant.
But I wasn't too surprised that there would be a game where like you randomly stop traffic to get out and bitch because somebody's got a certain bumper sticker on their car. I legit thought that's what you were saying at first. I forgot that Karen was the thing. Let's see. Cornhole Simulator rated M. Okay. Don't know what that means, but water polo is hard. Water polo would be, I don't know. Water polo seems pretty boring. Water polo is a lot like cricket or soccer.
You're kind of moving slowly.
Nobody's going to want to play it. Yeah, said it out loud.
You know, the thing is, Final Fantasy X had like a water polo similar sport. It was called Blitzball, but it was this big ball filled with water.
Whoa!
And people were inside it.
People a stroke sitting back. It was called Blitzball.
Yeah, Blitzball. And people could somehow breathe in that water. Don't ask how, by the way. It's never been explained.
You mean they didn't? What do you mean they could breathe
just
in that water?
In the water. So this big ball, floating ball of water, people are in the water swimming permanently, right? No issues with breathing. And that worked surprisingly well. It was super fun, by the way. But there's something about water polo, because you're like swimming on the surface, just seems super clunky and slow.
Very.
Yeah.
Huh. And that came out recently?
Blitzball? No, that's old. That's from Final Fantasy X. Sort of a classic at this
Shouldn't
point.
have tried to turn on another removal. Look at that. I'm just fucking around with my PC this entire time. What else do we got for news? What else is something that's popped up that's cool, that's worth talking about, that the kids are 6, 7 and about?
So Dispatch came out on Switch 2.
Yeah.
And it's censored. So it had this option on PC where you could censor explicit scenes, like the sex scene. You would get like a black box on top of it kind of thing.
Right.
And on Switch, that's just enforced. That mode is just always on. So
what do we think about that? Because there's been games that are not censored on there. There's been games from Japan that aren't censored on there. Why do you think Dispatch? So Dispatch, when I saw that Dispatch was censored, it didn't surprise me too much. She masturbates. There's all kinds of crazy shit that they show. And I think it helped the game. Let me describe why. So before it sounds weird, because I actually think it does. There's 2 love interests in the game. There's your romantic lead and your sexual lead, if you think about it, between the 2 girls. And I think it made the thought process in your brain more poignant or easier to have that full-on scene. I think that a lot of people are like, I don't like, that's a little too promiscuous for me, or a little too weird. I mean, especially if you reverse the roles, can you imagine what would happen if the guy was talking to her like that in a women's bathroom? I mean, she's straight up is like instantly. Rapist.
Right.
Yeah. The shit she says is like, I was sitting there going, damn, role reversal is a unique situation in this world. Not saying that there isn't a history that people are fighting back against, but I saw it and I was like, that's odd. So that was an important scene to help or solidify choice. I think that scene was like one where you're like, damn. And it also removes mystery. Dude, not too hard if the chick comes to work and tells you she, pleasured herself thinking about you. right? So like it's something that you look at and you're like, okay, she likes you. Does that help or hinder your decision? Do you like the mysterious girl that you don't know how she likes you? So maybe you go to Blonde Blazer. If you like the sure thing, or at least the person that you for sure knows likes you, then that also affects the choices you make when you're protecting both of them. So that scene I thought was pretty important, and I felt that was weird that it was removed. I'm not weird. Sorry. I know why it was removed. I'm saying that would be detrimental versus I think they removed the middle finger. I think they removed some cuss words. Those are a little less bothersome to me, personally.
Yeah, especially when Cyberpunk wasn't censored on the Switch. I mean, it was in Japan, but that's a different thing. Because Japan is very conservative, but
that's what
in North America and Europe.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think most of the games that are censored don't have a Japanese version, or how does it go? I can't remember. It has something to do with if they also, but that isn't true either, because I went and checked and it's not always true, where the censoring just doesn't make sense. It's not solid across the gamut. Also, that's a rated M game, right? If it's a rated M game, expect rated M stuff. So I feel like rating it M and then censoring it is really weird. Also, can we agree black bars don't work as well as the Sims pixelation? I think the pixelation would have been funny as... Imagine the big middle finger drop from the bat guy with pixelated. Imagine the penis is pixelated, the areola pixelated. That kind of stuff would be funny as hell. And they pixelate porn in Japan. They don't put a black bar over. I mean, they may, but most of it is just pixelated normally. So why wouldn't you use pixelization? Maybe it, that does require graphical power. Now that I think about it,
instead of just the black,
because there's transparencies involved, but you could fake it too. You could. I mean, there's ways to fake a pixel, pixeled, but it looks like something's back there, but it's just you putting a shape and then putting a fake pixel graphic over the top. I don't know. Obviously wasn't a part of it, but it was weird that it got that censored, because it got pretty heavily censored. And then why do you even worry about an M game? Just do a G version of the game. And they had a streamer. I think they had a streamer mode. I'm sure you've seen this in games where there'll be a streamer mode because they don't want the streamer to get kicked off a stream. I wonder if there was for that game, because I can't remember if there was. If the streamer mode... So the streamer mode must not have been enough. Wow.
No, because the streamer mode, as far as I know, only removes licensed music. It doesn't actually
and that one, it only removed
censor
it
anything.
Didn't remove the masturbation?
I don't believe so.
Also, can I just point out, if it was a guy just joking it, just stretching the willy on screen, you'd be like...
Jagging. Yeah, no, that would not work.
That would be a weird situation. Or they're both there. There's a TV. They're talking to each other while they're... Okay, anyway. You get my drift, though. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, we have all these sorts of interesting tolerances that
tolerances.
They only go one way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I want the game to do well, so I hope it continues to do well. The game is great, and I would play it censored without a second's thought.
Yeah,
but
honestly,
it does suck.
Not that big of a deal.
Nope.
At the end of the day.
Nope. But I understand why... To me, I feel like it makes more sense to have them in there, because I do believe that they all become a part of the choice, but I would not lose sleep playing it anyway, if anybody's thinking about getting it. Or you can just get it on the PC for super cheap. Play it on GeForce Now or something. I don't know. Oh, we're going to talk about that too. What else do we got for news?
The only other thing I saw was, so you talked about that report. 1/3 of U.S. video game industry workers said they were laid off past 2 years. I don't know if there's much else we want to say there.
Not much.
An overwhelming
just
figure.
Overwhelming number.
Yeah, we'll have to see. The other thing I saw was New World is going to be retired or stopped by January next year, 2027.
2027. And weirdly enough, in news that is related, Star Trek Online and their games are doing so well that they brought back the original creator to head the company.
No way.
So
So not only is it not stopping.
It's continuing. Yeah. Even DC
popping.
Universe, like it's so weird. But admittedly, Amazon's server requirements are so far beyond. I'm assuming it costs a shit ton.
The upkeep
to server farm that
way more.
Yeah, and Greedfall's coming for its 1.0 or whatever, or it's like full release here in the next couple months. I think.
Oh yeah, and that's
whatever
gonna
that
be
game
like
entails.
Service.
Yeah.
Style. Man.
Yeah, not something I expected. Hey guys, I got an idea. Let's take a beloved game in a very specific style and completely change it for the sequel.
Yeah.
And here's knocking on somebody. Someone had to foot that idea, and that person, regardless of being nice or not, is stupid. Now, if Greedfall 2 does well, I'll take it back.
They're a visionary.
Yeah, they're visionary. Exactly. They're a forward thinker, prophet, visionary. But I think there's zero chance of that. It'd be great if it did, because, man, dude, I loved Greedfall 1. Greedfall 2 is nothing like, I mean, I guess you could say art style, there's little bits of it, but, not too much. What else we got?
I think that's it. We got some questions in there.
Well,
what do you want to talk about next?
Yeah, let's do questions, then I'll cover the other thing about what did I decide to call it? Big streaming industry and the conspiracies that are
it's like big
hilarious.
Pharma, but
yeah, big milk. What do we got for questions? Let's if it's just like, let's talk game stuff, and then we'll leave them, because I'm sure somebody would probably put some goofy question in there. We'll get to those at the end. Is there game questions in there? Because a lot of these people like to throw some random shit in.
Cal says, what factor, technology, government regulation, cultural trends, economics, etc., do you think will have the biggest impact on gaming over the next 5 years? And do you expect that impact to be positive or negative?
So legislation. Okay, legislation in America, there's some states that want to make it very difficult for a kid to talk to AI, which is weird as shit. We're not controlling the other stuff, but regardless, if that gets in there, then games would have to look at that. So if a game wanted a chat bot to help you in a tutorial, you might not be able to do it because it would fall under the same. People think that like somebody's looking at every game, and they're like, no. This is a tutorial AI bot. But an AI bot that was trained on tutorial sections in a video game and were better, like let's say you were able to say, I'm having a problem on this boss, but you're telling me I should defeat it because I look at the tutorial, you're saying to do this, it's not working. If you had a fuzzy bot in there, one that actually was trained on the actual game and stuff, it could actually help you. But if if it said anything nice or bad, if it was like, oh, good job, you'll do well, then it's going to fit right into a lot of the legislation of like, let's stop people from being them. And all of those are most of them are panic simply into rounds to stop AI for other reasons, business reasons. They're usually not like a morally, like a real thing, but some are obviously, but yeah, that one would change. Watermarking, this is AI stuff, watermarking and requiring watermarks and stuff, that would change games. Man, what legislation ever comes up that really goes over the game?
Yeah, because usually regulation is chasing after
censorship, I guess, if we went that way. Maybe
it could go that way.
Because GTA's always got okay, there we go, Johnny. I don't think it's legislation. Let's say GTA 6 looks as good as it does, and you're just mowing down people. And let's add a facet to this that I don't think is occurring. What if there were kids? Then I could see legislation coming up because we've had so many problems here with the shootings. I could definitely see legislation being brought up that was like
inciting violence.
You can't put, you can't like shoot a kid in games. And a lot of games will curb that anyway. I mean, look at Fable 1. They had the ability to kill.
Famously.
Famously, yeah. And they showed it and they were like, no.
Or infamously. Whichever is the right one.
Either way. Yeah.
I think that cultural trends go hand in hand.
Yeah.
If you're talking about like cultural trends for the gamers, what people are into is motivating what games are about in some sense. Then the games are also motivating those cultural trends to either continue or die, depending on which way it's going. Like right now, Souls is kind of up because of Elden Ring still. So it's like kind of a cultural trend where people are much more accepting of Souls than, say, pre-Elden Ring, as an example. And that affects gaming a lot because it affects, in a big way, how many of these games are being made on a regular basis.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. Yeah, I think I mean, it all feeds back in itself. And it also takes 4 years to make a game. So I think one of the big problems, too, is if it takes 4 years to make a game's out, you respond after the game's out. You're not responding towards the game, most likely. You're responding towards the games after that.
Delayed.
It's
delayed,
and that's why making a rule about a movie, I've seen some pretty questionable movies. And I'm pretty pro do whatever you want, and it's a free market in that way. You can make what you want as long as there are, there's certain things we've had rules for years. And if you put those in, you're in trouble. But otherwise, you're not. And the free market will decide if that thing goes forward. And I don't really want, for example, obscenity laws in some nations are insane. And I certainly, I'm not a big believer if like somebody says, this is really bad and it's okay, so let me add this other bad thing to the okay list. And I'm like, wait, what? Why are we doing that? I mean, and it happens a lot of times, whether it be drugs, whether it be whatever, people be like, oh, well, this thing over here we found out is bad, so let's add, instead of let's fix the problem where the thing that's known that's bad, maybe we can try to curtail that. They're like, no, let's just add other bad stuff to the list of okay things. And I'm like, And the same goes with obscenity, where if you're suddenly like, you can't show this. I mean, because there's like, what is it? Irresistible. It's the Monica Bellucci one that has a RAPE scene in it for a great deal of time. And movie wasn't good. The movie just wasn't good. It was played in reverse, so that was an interesting take. But I appreciated that person could. It wasn't an American film, but I'm saying I appreciated that they could make it. We see it with some the body horror movies. We see some with the, I guess you call them kidnapping. I don't know what the term would be right now, but there's been a lot of like FaceTime movies lately that you see where they're, where you've got the creep on FaceTime who's like got a prisoner and he's asking the crowd what he should do. There's a couple of those horror movies. Those get pretty close to being like, ooh, like how much can we put in? But I don't want to make a law, and because we'll just add laws on top of it. If one gets through, suddenly we're sitting here playing Black Bard Dispatch.
And I would like to think that similarly to the YouTube thing, the signal from the audience is a good proxy for, did they go too far? Did it help the narrative to have that in or not? Because if ultimately it helped tell the story, I think people respond to that and they're like, look, I didn't enjoy that scene, but it served a purpose, as opposed to, I hated that, shouldn't have been there, that ruined the movie for me, I'm out.
Unless they bought it at BOT, like Snyder did to get the Snyderverse made. Go look at that investigation into that thing, and you're like, damn, that dude was faking a lot of like fan sentiment towards getting a Snyder version of the movie made. So you could bought it, right? You could, but yeah, I think you're right.
Irreversible is called.
I think that's what I said. So I was right on that one. Yeah.
Okay,
irreversible.
okay.
I've seen it. Or irresistible.
Nice play on words,
when I said,
because the movie is literally reversible. Mm-hmm. Literally.
And I want to make sure they're not in reverse where they're like, that would be a really weird movie. And I would watch the shit out of that, but that is not what it was. It was just told in, actual chronological terms. It was backwards. Whoa, dog, Jesus Christ, man, this dog is crazy.
Holy
Sorry
moly.
about that. Fuck. Man, he's got a spinal, it's like MS, I guess is what you say, or Parkinson's, but one of the major symptoms in humans is night terrors and movement, because your brain stops being able to freeze you in REM sleep. So if you have like a spouse or whatever who starts kicking in sleep a bunch, there's a worry there that might indicate it. Dogs get it and it gets aggressive, and he's got it. And so it's not like a YouTube video where he's running. It's like he's moving like a dog, but he's asleep. And that's what he did, is he got halfway up, knocked all the cameras down, and then flopped back completely asleep. He'll be like, or he's got narcolepsy, one of the two.
Holy moly.
Yeah, sorry about that if that shot the lights everywhere. But yeah, man, it's, I'm a big fan of freedom on that kind of stuff. Freedom and, letting a person make what they want to make for the most part, and then we deal with it.
Yeah.
Then. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of banning on Steam. I'm not even talking about that horse game or whatever, because I don't know what was in that, but sometimes we'll get those games that are banned on Steam.
Yeah,
sort of a little questionable. Let's see. We got one on Twitter. What is the most overrated? Okay, this is interesting. What's the most overrated and underrated Assassin's Creed games? So one game that's overrated, one game that is underrated. What are those? What do you think?
No matter what the answer, we're going to trigger some people, because people feel very strongly about the AC games.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Brotherhood is underrated in some circles. At the same time, a lot of people love it. I love it. I like it.
And what about the other?
I mean, I think Origins is underrated, actually. I think it got a lot of shit and it never really recovered from that, because it was the one that ate the shit sandwich for making the change from the traditional AC to the new RPG style. And I think it took the brunt of that.
And it was a technical
knee-jerk reaction. It was also a bit technically, yeah.
I mean, it still has issues. People teleport and transform from men to women in front of you consistently.
Small issues, Garrick, okay?
But
listen, the pyramids look great. Pyramids look great.
Origins. I'm sorry. I thought you said Unity.
Oh.
Origins. Did Origins get shit?
Yeah, definitely.
Did it? Okay. I liked Origins, man. But I liked Origins.
Yeah, it had some issues, but yeah.
So overrated, Unity. Even though it is hammered on, people have a tendency to not remember that it's not real-time lighting. They did some stuff there. I mean, I like it, but I just don't love it. And I guess the other would be 2. Nah, switch it. 2. I think 2 is overrated.
Man, I love 2 with Ezio and
yeah, I think Ezio's insufferable, but I mean, I get it. Yeah, that character is
yeah. He's the classic.
He's such a
womanizer.
Trope. He's an emoji. Yeah. He's so poorly written. You could just take his face and make it an emoji. That would be better writing than that game for that character.
It's
I'm just getting aggressive. By the way,
Italian womanizer in 2 sentences.
It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. But ignoring that would be my choice probably. And then underrated is probably not fair, because some games released on the 360 or the Vita, I think, like Liberation did, and so they might appear to be underrated, but really just means underknown. But underrated. Dude, that's a hard question.
Was Syndicate received well or not?
It was received well. It was one of those titles that was only released on some things. It was received well enough for what it was, but graphically, because they went real time in their lighting versus baked in, it didn't look as good lighting wise, because Unity was baked. The problem with Unity is it was baked. It was like it was. So it was like you got really good lighting. You're like, I don't know if it's real though. So you got some Snoop Dogg moments in that one, but yeah, I mean, you could maybe, I don't know, maybe Syndicate was a little buggy, but Syndicate, I don't think I would go so far as to say, I hear people talk about 1 and 2 a lot, and I hear people talk about Unity a lot, and I hear people talk about Odyssey, including myself, a lot. I would say there is a chance Brotherhood is under whatever, but there's so many people who like each one of them, Johnny. Oh,
true.
Okay. Maybe 3, because I know a lot of people who like 3, and I think 3 might just be not the greatest game and not even a good Assassin's Creed game. So 3 would... I don't know if it's overrated, though, right? Like, I think people are pretty fair towards 3 being troublesome in how it sets up its story, and then that character goes away. Dude, I thought I was going to be that guy. I was so excited. I was like, oh, shit, this is sweet, man. I'm doing all this crazy shit. And then, you know, you're his son, who was boring. That game was ahead of its time, too. It tried to do forests and shit about 1 gen too early. I think, for that engine. That engine felt creepy. It was creaky. It was just constantly like, or it was creaking like the trees you were climbing.
Engine wasn't ready for it.
Needed a little bit more, just a little bit more go-go juice in there, and it would have been fine. But it was pretty roughed up. Let me load up. YouTube crashed. Let me load up so I can see what Mr. Manny. 500 DOP. Did we ever figure that's douche marks? No, that's
Dominican pesos, I think.
You mean Dominican pesos would be different than...
I think it's from the Dominican Republic, yeah.
Oh, shit, I didn't know that. Okay, can you read that super chat, man? My YouTube is crashed in my browser.
What do you think is Xbox's strategy in the medium term? Saw they lost 5% last earnings call. Wonder what the goal is. Have a good one. Thank you, Manny.
Real answer? The goal is to not lose as much or the same amount next quarter. And that's because the console sales went down. They're still selling games. We saw that with a couple games that released recently. They said they sold well on Xbox. I don't think they have a goal in the way we think of goals. I think they're just like Sony. They're early. Sony just recently said they're delaying the PlayStation. They straight up are like, yeah, we're delaying the PlayStation, and we think it has a ton of life. Now, let me ask any watcher, any human with a brain, even one half of it that wasn't destroyed by some type of CTE or dynamite explosion, does anybody think Sony would be saying that if there weren't RAM issues and price issues on putting together a new APU? Truly, does anybody think that? Because if you do, I've got an amazing island to sell you called Atlantis, because that's bullshit. There's a reason why you just
shit on
got
Atlantis.
announced.
I've seen some documentaries.
You can't shit on Atlantis. It's underwater. That's the thing. Is right now there's no there. Come on, it's got more life. No, it doesn't. We've already got games that are having a problem hitting certain FPS. It's the exact skew that you would expect. It's got the power you would expect. That means it is not like got a shit ton more life on it, and especially not for the main developers who don't have access to, tons of money and all that kind of stuff. I hate that shit. Microsoft and Sony both are making, or both have made that decision to delay stuff. I think Microsoft's plan also will appear like a plan, but it was just happenstance. And definitely a lot of that happenstance is that Microsoft switched to a little bit of streaming. They started doing deals with TVs and all that stuff, and it's come back to actually help them a little bit with getting their games sold or people getting eyes on their games. And it's not a plan. It's just, it all came together. I mean, their plan's always been, Game Pass in some way. But I think overall, they don't really have a plan for the midterm as much as make sure that the games are everywhere, Game Pass deals. And then they're going to wait it out just like Sony. Because remember, whatever Microsoft's plans were, your big question shouldn't even be in the next 6-7 months. You're going to get games like normal. What should be the question is, when both these guys release their new systems, will Microsoft still be this powerful system they talked about? Because remember, Microsoft was like, our next system, we know, probably just because they know what everybody's doing in general. They're like, this will be the most powerful. Now it would be, this is so powerful, it's unbelievably, unacceptably costly to buy.
Expensive.
Yeah. So that's a problem. Other than that, I think they've not lucked in. I think that there's been a sort of a mix of bad luck, and then their choices have sort of timed into some good stuff with the streaming has helped them. But don't consider it all a plan. And I think Sony's in the same boat. Sony's got a problem right now. Sony's not releasing first-party games. They're not making people like go, oh, there's this next thing, there's this next thing. They have their service games, which is their problem. Nintendo's got their problem, which they're still behind in tech. And now all three have a problem that they can't control, which is RAM. Not only RAM, I should take that back. It's not only RAM, it's the entire electronics industry is going through a revolution.
The whole chain.
It is honestly going to look so weird in the next couple years when you see these different companies and trying to figure out what they're going to do and put together. It's absolutely insane. What were we going to say, Johnny?
I mean, at a basic level, their medium-term goals are cutting operating margins, like costs, like we've been seeing with shutting down some studios and stuff, and trying to increase their earnings, right? So it's like at a basic level, it kind of comes down to that, and they make granular decisions regarding studios based on what they think is gonna profit more.
It'll be interesting to see if there's more or if they're sort of done too, because it feels like what they've got now you've got your Double Fine releasing on everything. So you can make money by keeping versus cutting. So let me give you an example. You cut a team and you're not making games at all with that team. Or you have a team make games for everybody and you worry about the situation later. Meaning a Double Fine, I heard people saying, why would, Double Fine Keeper didn't do insanely well, or we don't know what it sold, blah, blah, blah. Their last big game was this. Why are they not gone? And I'm like, I don't think you get it. They can have one or two big sales. Microsoft has dominated PlayStation's sale numbers. Like their games are selling insane. If it came to me and somebody said, not Double Fine, but one of the other smaller, if they were like, hey, should we get rid of these guys? At minimum, have them port some of your games to PlayStation. Have that development team help. Be like, let's keep them, because they got rid of sort of the extra for a while. It doesn't mean there won't be any cuts, but I think when I looked at their teams, I was like, okay, some of these guys could be used to port to a PlayStation and get some extra sales for an extremely low amount of cash versus, say, your other big thing. But yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows their plans. I think plans are changing consistently.
When it comes to Game Pass, do you think they're happy with the price increase that's actually helped them? Or is it something they might either walk back or take a different tack?
The price increase? You mean the price increase from a few months ago?
Yeah, a few months ago. Looking back, do you think they're happy with how that's worked for them?
I don't know if we'll know how it's... I don't see...
Obviously, we don't know because they're not...
I don't think they're... I mean, they've made it clear that they didn't hit their total numbers, but they're at 25 million a month, 25 million subscribers. That's pretty insane. That's insanely good numbers for a lot of subscriber services. If they don't spend as much, so weirdly enough, if we don't see a lot of AAA games this year that are really catchy, means they don't have to pay for an exclusive on Game Pass, or they don't have to put it also on Game Pass. So in a weird way, that helps them. I don't think there's any way you could say if you don't meet your numbers, you're happy, right? So if they planned on 45 million subscribers and there are 25, you're not happy. So you raise the price. I think the price was... I think they fucked up the price for a long time, allowing all the doubling up and all the crazy shit, because they built in, and you've heard this as well because you know who I'm talking about, they built in the idea that it's not worth very much by allowing people to get away with it not being very much for the longest period of time when they had some of the better games. Yeah. So imagine Sony started a streaming service today. You'd be like, they've got one. I'm saying if they did, looking at their lineup, but if they started it when Spider-Man, God of War, you know what I mean? Then you're more and Microsoft was the same way, and they had this low price, and not to fucking repeat ourselves, but I mean, I think Ogilvy and, the PR guys have basically explained quite easily that a low price does cause people to, over a period of time, build up the idea it's not worth it.
When you keep getting it for 3 months for $1, like that stupid deal.
Yep. And by the way, think about it this way, Johnny. If it's $1 for a month, if you were charging 30, you only need one person to do that sub to pay the entire 30 other people. So you only need 1 in 30. The math there is actually insanely good that you would get 1 in 30. So and then you drop the price, don't raise the price. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's sort of weird that we've seen some of these services start with low prices, keep raising them, and taking shit away. So we're all like, oh, we're getting less for more. So
in other words, you would have been happier with less subscribers, but for a more realistic price.
Yes, and because you build in value by dropping the price later. So if it's commensurate with the number of titles. So if you're releasing all these big titles and you're like, hey, it's $30, people are going to be like, well, these are big titles and I want this one and this one and this one. So let's do this. Let's buy this. Let's buy this. Then you turn around and you're like, we don't have as many. Let's throw it on sale for a year. Let's do this. And a sale is something most people look forward to, right? You don't have a website that tracks, has it gone up so I can buy it? That'd be ridiculous. You have websites that track sales. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. And they did. Dude, it was crazy. I mean, it was so ridiculous. We had people at like 3 years at $1 or so, whatever that was, where they were stacking. And Microsoft had the money at the time. And I'm always like, dude, just because you have the money today doesn't mean you will have it tomorrow, man. It's like, it's not how it works. That's just not how it works, because inflation will change it.
So much that in fact people talked about Game Pass before the price change as in being free. People would say, oh, the game's on Game Pass.
Yes.
The implication being you can play it almost for free.
Yep.
Close enough.
What did we figure out? It was 9 cents per game when it first came out. If you divided the total number of games by the cost or something like that. It was some crazy amount that we did. Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird one. But we'll have to see how these guys go. Their plans are weird. Microsoft's for sure got another console. Sony's got another console. And then we'll have to see in the future. I don't think like home hardware is going away ever. I will say one thing. I don't like it. But I'm going to shout it out. Even though I mean this when I say I don't like it. The ROG Ally is one of the smartest moves they've made. They don't subsidize it, or in the way that you would normally with hardware, where you only make $10. And so if you sell a bunch of hardware, it sounds good, but it doesn't mean people are buying games. Somebody else is making it, and they're able to test that market and say, how's this doing, blah, blah, blah. And I think that is a very smart current way to enter the handheld market. Why take on all the risk yourself when you can say, we're going to team up with somebody, even if it's not a true device in the way that, like, I think of a handheld, which is made by the company, made with proprietary stuff. They had some proprietary stuff.
Put a decal, put some software on that thing, and ship it.
Even though I don't like it. I don't like that system at all, but I like I hate
smart.
That company. Yeah. But it's been very smart for them. And, a lot of these guys that I talk to really like that system too. So I can't.
Have you tried it? I don't remember if I asked you. Did you find it like a good system for the money? Is it something you would recommend?
No. I think handhelds are too expensive right now. Even if you look on the utilitarian side of using them as a PC, I think that's the only way you get away with a handheld right now anyway. If you try to buy a handheld that's a PC handheld, you're really hampering the cost. You're really not looking at it. I'm not saying smartly, but you're not looking at it in the proper way if you think of it just as a handheld, because you can use them as PCs, and you might as well, especially when a lot of times we play on our PCs and we don't use them for games. So I think I just don't like it. I don't like that company either. Ultra Crisp, $8 super chat. Love the podcast, fellas. Have you played Ninja Gaiden Ragebound? Feels like it's the best side-scrolling ninja game I've played. One of the best. I did. I thought it was pretty okay. Didn't love it, though. Did you play it?
No, it looked pretty difficult. And I'm not that good at like the side-scrolling or platforming stuff. So I didn't get into it.
And I think I would agree with you and say I wasn't in the mood to get good at it. I played it, and I got a couple levels in and liked what I played, but there's a little bit of that, like, this is painful. You know, it's a little painful.
Because it would take a good chunk of investment to get to the level.
Yeah. Doolittle says, I can see MS moving out of hardware market, morphing Xbox into a lightweight PC. They're definitely not moving out of the hardware market, but morphing Xbox into a lightweight PC is sort of what these have been for 2 generations now. They're an APU, guys. Yeah. They are a PC. Like it's actually one of the problems developers talk about all the time is that they are PCs. Like they legitimately are. So yeah, I think the developer we talked to said it took less than 7 hours to get a game up and running on the PC from their console port. Doesn't mean it was optimized. I'm saying that's how fast, because they're so alike. It's ridiculous. What were you saying?
Do you see in the future something similar to what they did with the ROG Ally, but with pre-builds for PCs, where they say, listen, this is like an Xbox PC. You know, maybe they work with CyberPower, whatever you can think of, and they have this like preset pre-build that ships with what they consider to be like really good value or like, you know, a really good setup. It's got the Xbox logo. It's got maybe some cool software in it that makes it unique.
Are we talking about a PC that is not in some way a console and it's just a PC? Like,
so it would be like a full-on PC, like a normal PC. The only thing, maybe it has either a different OS that makes it easier to just game on it, or it could be just like Game Bar evolving into something bigger.
So it will never be a different OS. It might be a different front end, but it will still be Windows 11
because it's
or 12.
Microsoft, right?
It's Microsoft. Yeah.
Yeah.
And despite all the inaccuracies that people try to spout out, I firmly will say I have much more confidence in a human clicking a shortcut than a lot of people seem to. A lot of people seem to be that, people are so dumb, they can't click a shortcut, this thing doesn't work. And it's like, no, it's not how it works. So being completely factual, I don't see anything other than them trying to get this game performance system that they've got, and you can play it and you can use it in Windows 11 now. What I see that as becoming the forefront, though, meaning imagine a start button. You click the start button, and it's like, do you want to go to console mode? You know, something, or do you want to go to performance?
Picture
from
Steam or something.
But maybe. But I mean, why would you? If you want to take your Windows device and remove a bunch of functionality to just do that versus Steam and look down your list, if I were Microsoft, I probably wouldn't copy that. I'd probably do my own thing that wouldn't look like Steam Big Picture. It would look like whatever it would look like. I don't think, as somebody who uses Steam Big Picture occasionally, very occasionally, even on the handheld, I don't think another company should try to fight their strength. Like we've, heard people talk about before, go to what they're not doing well, try to make you do better on those things, So yeah. I don't know. But yeah, their OS, we'll see something. We'll see OEM consoles though. We will. That's for sure. It won't be an OEM PC, but we will see OEM consoles where they're like, this is sort of the low-level OEM, sort of the mid-level OEM. And they've talked about it before. So this is not like talking out of pocket. This is all stuff that like they've discussed. But I could see Asus having an Asus Xbox without any shadow, like without even, it only makes sense at some point in the future to be like, if you're a console maker and you're selling to the same people, why are you footing the bill for a $500 console?
Yeah.
And they tried it with WMR. WMR was subsidized. And WMR didn't fail because of that. All VR sort of failed. But it did definitely have issues. And I think you have to learn from those. But yeah. Yeah, I think OEM consoles are the future. I mean, we already see it with classic consoles where a company will make a classic console and they'll get a certification from somebody to do some weird console. Yeah. Why not? Save some cash. Dude, making a console is $2 billion? $2 or $3 billion? Like, upfront cost to do all your fab work and your, creating the ideas and putting all the teams together. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. That's why 3 companies can do it only.
And why nobody looks at it and goes, I want to be there. Didn't we get the guy who did Cars, Project Cars 2? He tried to make a console, didn't he? I think it was the Project Cars guys who tried to make a console. I mean, I said tried because it didn't happen, but.
I mean, we saw a bunch of stuff like the KFC console. I don't know if any of it was real, but.
I think wasn't the KFC console real, or was it not?
I thought it was.
Yeah. What's a console these days anyway, guys?
Yeah.
Like if you're able to open up your system and hit a button and it looks like a console, the biggest problem is static hardware that a console has. For example, PCs don't have decompressed compress blocks right now. The video cards don't. Consoles do. And that is actually legitimately useful, even if you have a multi-core CPU where you try to take all that and put it on a CPU. It's just not as efficient as having the chip on the actual console. That's one place where I could see, GPUs, maybe they'll add them themselves. Maybe they'll be like, because you have direct compress, you have Kraken, got a couple compression codecs and blocks. What were you going to say?
Well, ultimately, if you're buying a PC box and you can choose between it having the Xbox OS or Windows, you're just shooting yourself in the foot for getting the because like you said, you just have so much more value. Yeah, it is an odd split. I think at some point their stuff will just be Windows.
Well, Dreamcast was Windows CE. It was an altered version of Windows CE. I mean, if it works, it works. PlayStation isn't PlayStation a Linux kernel? So, but its own you know what I mean? So we already like at some point we're working against ourselves, but I don't want Windows. I mean, in that way on my console, at least not yet. I don't want any like normal OS you see out and about on my console because they're much less secure than if it's its own thing and they can work around the security of its own thing. Yeah. I like those ideas. But hey, we'll have to see, man. Good question. Let's see. Let's see. That is not a question. That was a diatribe. That's about I stated, what does success look like in 2026? And Brian says, Resident Evil Requiem is what true success will look like. Okay. Fair. I'll never buy a Windows machine again. I will never buy a Linux one again. I guess that's the way it goes. We need a new OS from everybody. Never happened.
Yeah, they have some new, really good-looking Linux distributions and stuff coming out.
Mint was pretty nice. I tried that. I also tried the super speedy one that's like good for games and blah. But I did try. Yeah. I tried because I wanted to be able to I wanted to first see if I could run a server on one for my movies and stuff and on music and all that shit. And then also because I think it's good to know versus sort of think
what's out there.
What's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But moving on from there, that's boring. Let's talk about games. Let's talk about so I put some stuff on my little list here for itinerary. Big milk, big GPU, big subscription. What is the conspiracy about big subscription? So I've got this question 3 or 4 times. I think somebody must have done a video. So the idea was floated around somewhere that there's a massive conspiracy, that the whole world is a conspiracy right now to get people to go to streaming services for games. And I'm probably moving Johnny's picture, and I apologize. Did I just move your picture? I did. Let me give you 1 second. So I want to make sure I can read this. Give me 1 second. I'm going to make Johnny bigger.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have to make him bigger. He's huge. It's the story I heard, and I'm sticking to it.
At least my forehead is.
All right. So, okay. So here's the thing. Is it possible that there's a massive conspiracy amongst CPUs, because that's being affected now, RAM, all this stuff, because they want gamers to go to streaming services? It is so nuts to me that the thought process would be that way. So if you look at it, there's a GPU inside of your PC, or RAM, right? That's what's going up in price for the majority. And those prices would also be repeated on top in a streaming service. However, you would also have electricity, and you also have a PC, and you also have a Windows license. All of those would then go onto the subscription service, as in they would have to pay for them. Plus, they would have to upgrade in mass, because subscription services don't upgrade piecemeal like a normal consumer does. They upgrade in mass. So you're talking about, let's say one day you show up and you're like, okay, we need 6090s, whatever the new card is, for these new games, because we're at the point to where we have to do it. And you would have to then do that. That's put back on them. It's also, they're getting a very small cut from games. They would have to pay all of the electricity on their side when we're talking about an inordinate amount of electricity used from some of these graphics cards. That's like three of the major issues financially that even when I ran the numbers a little bit ago, it wasn't even close to making financial sense. I understand why somebody might think that, but it also requires people who are in direct competition to engage in a conspiracy towards systems they have no connection with. For example, AMD would have to say, you know what? Let's join a conspiracy that in no way, shape, or form helps us, because we aren't the ones supplying video cards for the streaming services. It makes no sense. It's not happening. Those kind of situations sound, because conspiracies don't necessarily need people, they just need situations. It can sound sort of enticing to believe it's anything other than what it is, which was mentioned over 6 years ago, by the way, well before RAM prices went up, that RAM prices would go up the moment there was a hit anywhere in the supply chain, because of how few RAM companies were making RAM. And the hit turned out to not be an earthquake or tsunami or another COVID. It turned out to be another industry that needs the identical piece. No one expected that to happen, because for the longest period of time, there's been sort of a static line: GPUs, CPUs, PCs, consoles, handhelds, TVs. There's been this static line. That our hit came from another industry. And that industry right now is doing exactly what everybody else is doing, trying to minimize memory in the future. So you're going to see it hit on multiple places. LLMs are already starting to have memory structures that are vastly different, where they're trying to get away from the giant sections of memory, because they don't want to pay the high prices either, because not all those guys are in bed with a RAM maker. Intel recently stated they already have RAM they already have memory for their CPU, so they don't see a price going up. ARC video cards are still pretty cheap because they've bought their RAM early. Those guys would all have to turn around and join this conspiracy to make that conspiracy a thing. And then they would lose their business. One of the businesses, like let's say for Intel, is GPUs. They're not in streaming services. They're not there right now.
Yeah.
So I think I think that there are some places that want you in their sub, but I would see the companies doing it right now, like an NVIDIA saying, do you want a 5090? We know they're expensive. We'll give you no interest, loan to get our card. I see them doing that far more than them doing a streaming thing, because they don't have any clue how long you're going to stay in a streaming thing. And you don't even have to buy a long-term contract with that. But if you were to buy a card from them, you're not going to want to give up your 5090. So you're going to start seeing the companies, which I believe NVIDIA already had something. I could be wrong on that. I thought NVIDIA had a payment plan, but if they can get the ability to be a lender, creditor, and they have that ability, they just say, hey, you want a 5090? $25 a month for the rest of your life. but you're locking in the price. And you could sell it to consumers and be like, lock in the lower price before GPUs go up. That has a very high chance of happening. Streaming services, which are completely disconnected from 90% of these other companies having issues, that's an end result thing. And it just doesn't make sense as an end result other than the industry's move towards streaming for some things. I mean, Microsoft, maybe with where they're like, you can buy an Xbox, but if you don't want to, you can stream, but their streaming isn't good at all. And they're run by the console. They're basically console blades that are in, and that's why they're not great. The only one that's good is GeForce. And then can you imagine how mad people would be if you were like esports, which is $1 billion industry? There's multiple industries that would be directly against streaming services and many that have no connection to them. So I don't see that conspiracy having any. I
mean, this whole coordination between like companies just wouldn't happen. What would happen, like if tomorrow NVIDIA said, listen, we're not selling you cards anymore. We're giving you this subscription for you to play from. What would happen is that other companies are making cards. Yeah, like AMD is making.
Sparkle is making a card. Yeah.
Yeah, so like people will buy from these other companies. And now there's a huge opening for them to get market share because NVIDIA is literally opening that. So they wouldn't make that move. Now on paper, it would be lovely for them if they could have a situation where instead of like selling you a 5090, they use that 5090 in a data center and they're able to service 20 gamers from that instead of one. And they are paying, imagine, 20 years of a subscription throughout their life or whatever. That's good business for them. But like you said, you don't know how much people are going to be bought into the subscription.
But can you imagine having to upgrade all the servers at one time for the new card?
Well, yeah, that's massive cost too. And maintaining it, the whole shebang. Running it
would be insane.
Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah, I don't see it. But I do see that streaming's going to catch on. I mean, we've talked about this for years. Streaming will catch on just simply because it's catching on. It is catching on right now. And when
so as an offering, the better it becomes.
Yeah.
The more, it will be enticing. So that makes sense. But I don't think that's nefarious necessarily. The way people paint it with the big pharma.
Yeah. There really isn't anything financially or even within by the way, the fact of it all too is there isn't even a situation in which it's possible currently because the fabs aren't even there to do what people are talking about. If you took about 10% of gaming, you would probably need 3 or 4 more fabs that aren't even being built just to supply the gaming,
Yeah, so like right now, GeForce now wouldn't be able to service all gamers.
No, I mean, GeForce now already removed their hours, Johnny. Even on a premium service, they've already locked hours. It used to be unlimited. They already locked hours because they have too many and they don't have the hardware to surface it. Yeah, they would much rather sell that to an AI company that's going to ramp up and need to remove that every 6 months to get the fastest inference than to a gamer who might sit on it for 3 years. So we're already there. And then the same thing happens with games. Also, you're betting on the games industry having big games that people will continue to play. And NVIDIA is one of the better services for streaming, and it's missing tens of thousands of games. More than tens of thousands. So not only would you be paying a subscription for a service that doesn't even have the games that you want, tens of thousands of games are not on that service. You can't play the indie games. So that means entire companies in the industry making games don't want it to happen. You're missing Take-Two for streaming services. Red Dead's not on there. You know what I mean? Some of the biggest games, possible aren't on there. So yeah, it's a weird one. Doesn't make sense financially. I did look into it because I was asked, but we already sort of knew that because there's been multiple people who know way better than us. But like looking into it, they don't even have the server infrastructure, and they're not going to waste time building a game server infrastructure when they can build another AI one. If you told NVIDIA, do you want to build an area for AI and a server infrastructure, like a server in fucking Corvallis, Oregon for AI, or do you want to build it for games? There isn't even it's not even a hesitation for right now.
Also, like
on the AI
the
side.
cost of that data center scales up way
tremendously
too much. So, you could, let's say they have X amount of people now, to go like 2X or 4X the idle costs of that, data center. It's gigantic.
Especially when you're able to rent those to AI companies who are exploding everywhere right now. So once AI settles down, we get it won't bust because it's out. Like, you can't bust what's already, it'll bust into smaller bubbles. But just like .com didn't bust, despite what people said, it just turned into a bunch of things, and many of those companies are still there. So what you're seeing is, maybe a couple years before we start to see a lowering down to where it's easier to get manufacturing up. But I mean, we're already seeing companies exactly what did we say months ago, where it was like people were worrying about it. I'm like, dude, you're going to have companies building fabs. For sure. And that's what's happening. Like, every day we see a new company talking about fabs. Now, could that drive the price lower than... I was asked if it would drive the price lower than it was. If I were a company, I don't think I'd sell my RAM lower than it was when it was at its low. But if you accidentally flood it, or AI figures out a way to use SSDs and NVMe for inference and memory checkpoints, which I've already tested that, it works. Don't think you want to run it on an NVMe right now, because the lifespan of that is not going to be super long. Yeah, I could see all these kind of things happening. But yeah, it'll be a while. So anyway, I looked into it, and at least fact-wise, does not seem to make any sense whatsoever. Not only money, but actually manufacturing is not there. You would have to have the manufacturing there for AI, and then double it up to have the manufacturing there for GPUs. And it's not. Unfortunately, it's not close. I wish it was, man, because I would like I'd like a 6090. I don't know price.
Do you think we're even gonna go towards a 6090, or that they are kind of moving away from gamer cards altogether, and it's gonna be maybe a more generic thing also for AI /
they will go to whatever is selling. So if AI starts to slow down, GPU stuff will pop back up. Will we see a 6090? Yes, of course. But its cost, who knows?
Dude.
And NVIDIA or whatever, every company has a vested interest in outdoing their competitors. If Intel continues to get their cards sorted, gets their drivers sorted, NVIDIA, AMD will have to look at graphics cards and go, do we want to pass up the entire graphics card market? Because we may be letting Intel take it over. And when you're doing graphics cards, guess what else you're doing? You're investing in possible technological futures, which is exactly how NVIDIA figured out their cards are good at AI. So what if Intel takes over, they start making a bunch of cards, they're doing really well, and some other type of AI comes up, or some other part of an industry comes up, that then they're like, oh, we have something that might be able to double up and actually work in that industry. And suddenly you're ended around by just the sheer way in which technological innovation works. So, yeah, I think 6090 would be so expensive, man, right now. Dude, I mean,
$3,000.
More. Yeah, more. And they're starting to do the multi-frame gen, and they're sort of selling it as a real thing. I think they're going to continue working on it, but I'm not buying a 6090 for the newest version of DLSS, nor an AMD. The multi-gen, they'll be like, oh, it can adjust on its own. That might sound good to them, but to me, I'm like, whoa. I want to lock it in usually. Usually I'm like 2, 4, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 2 or 4 times or balanced, or that's fine. Yeah. But when you talk to me about dynamic FPS, it's like, oh, this FPS can choose. It can go from like 4 to 6 or whatever. I'm like, dude, if I'm at 400 frames per second or whatever, let's say 200, I don't care if it's going 180 to 200. I would just lock it at like 120 and be like, hey, at least I know I'm locked right now. And, it's not going lower. It's an odd thing. And we're starting to see that. I mean, I think we'll see the same thing.
I think we're at the point where if you own a 50 series or 40 series, you're
pretty
really
good.
not looking to upgrade. You know, you're kind of set unless something really radical changes.
Yeah, guys, listen, man. 4090 is still way more powerful than the consoles. It's doing 4070 is probably as well. I don't remember the exact I think they're I can't remember if their 40 series is sort of the equivalent, but it's never really the equivalent because of the decompressed blocks and stuff. But you're looking at these cards that are pretty powerful. You know, we all don't want to have to run DLSS though, right? That's why you get a 6090. I think that's why you want to get a 6090 is because you don't have to worry about, or maybe if you want to worry about it, you can, but you don't have to worry about turning DLSS on. I think that's a legitimate complaint. And I certainly don't want games to have it on to get, you know, and 4K is a lot. And by the way, if we go to 8K, we're in deep shit. I don't even know what you do because I've seen an 8K picture and I'm telling you straight up, it's worthless. And this is what I do is look at TVs and hell, like I'm looking at it going, guys, I'm sorry. The amount of GPU power that Netflix, the amount of bandwidth they're going to have to pump to an 8K. It's ridiculous, dude. And that's not even real 8K. We already know that the algorithm for Netflix is like 2B frames at the end of a start and end frame. It's not even close to true 4K. That's fucking ridiculous. Do you want an 8K TV so you can sit 1 inch from it and go, yep, her areola is rounder than on the 4K TV? That's ridiculous. I mean, I'm not saying we need to stop. I'm just saying I want more that's beyond the resolution on TVs. Yeah. Color, brightness, contrast, longevity.
Because we've all experienced going 1080p to 1440p. Some people are on 4K, and the jump is just always less noticeable. So like 1080p to, you know, to 1440p is this massive improvement, and then it just becomes diminishing.
And especially when you look at like how games are being released, we're getting companies doing really well with some of the engines. I would like to see the engines improve because especially when you look at all these games, you know, sometimes you see Unity and you're like, uh-oh. Or you see Unreal and you're like, uh-oh, not 100% sure I want that, you know. So Oregon Fresh, NVIDIA leaving the consumer market by 2030. Dude, can you imagine leaving a market of 3 billion people? Can you imagine just being like, we don't want to do our bonus work over here and 3 billion people. We're fine with just leaving those 3 billion people. Like, dude, I mean, that's a lot of LSD. That's like a lot. Let's focus on games. Proceeds to go off on hardware, data centers, manufacturing, AI tech. We did every single time talking about games, just so you know. I mean, we could sit here and talk just about the main menu screen for Mass Effect.
I mean, it is all connected. You know, it's the gaming industry.
We literally mentioned games like 6,000 times. I don't think anybody's even asking for more resolution than 4K. Yeah, I don't think so either, but I think that they are asking for like making sure VRR is settled in, making sure frame rates can get HDR, 240, HDR, burn in. We don't, you know, you don't want burn in. You want absolute black on the screen when there is black sections. You want that zeroed out. Audio systems, maybe they weigh pretty light now. Yeah, I don't think 4K. I mean, even on a game, well, games are a little different, right? Because 4K on a game, I can still see the occasional stair step, right? If you know what I mean, you know, so games, but you can also do all kinds of effects where you merge those, you mend those, you anti-alias it, where you don't have to see it. But yeah, I don't think many people are sitting. You know, there's some Saudi sheik who wants 8K, but Johnny or me sitting here going, I want 8K doesn't seem like it's a problem.
It worries me that sometimes they're not like listening to what we want necessarily. They put that on the box 8K, and then that somehow becomes like
what's a new
baseline
too. Yeah, you know, if you say you can output 8K, it helps, makes it look.
You don't want to be less
look like you're doing something. Yeah, you don't want to be
like,
less.
Sony's doing 8K. We got
our new tape player coming out for our, and you're like, wait, what? But why are you celebrating that? How about an HDMI alternative? Yeah, I would agree with that. HDMI. So, you know, there are some bonuses. There's a very cool article, if anybody gets a chance, especially for games, there's a very cool article about why HDMI, including the new one that's coming up, has some benefits over a lot of other systems. But USB-C is weird, guys. It's pretty crazy that USB-C can pipe out that the bandwidth now is insanely enough that you can power the monitor and output. But I hate USB-C because not only is there USB overhead, but I don't like the connector. So it's structurally, I don't want that in the back of my monitor where something could fall back. I feel like, dude, I just had an HBAC or USB-C fall apart. The metal came out of into the plug.
God.
And I was
they're
like,
so flimsy.
I wasn't
and
even
they're so easy to disconnect too.
Yeah. Like, but I do like that we see that that's possible. So
the connector is good though. If they had like an alien type thing that just like
yes, dude. So my 2080 had a USB-C, and this pisses me off that NVIDIA removed it. NVIDIA had a USB-C on 20. I had a 20. I think it's 2080 Ti. It's got a USB-C, so you could run your VR through that instead of so you wouldn't eat up an HDMI. And I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. It worked great. It was super speedy. It had much less headway or like headroom, or what do you call it? Weight from the USB stack on it. So the latency was good. And the very next set of cards, they're like, we're okay.
Nah.
Yeah. We're fine. Dolby Vision 2. Yeah, guys, we're getting some cool color stuff. That kind of thing will be great. My TV has, I was telling Johnny, my TV has audio that plays from where it is on the screen. And it sounds weird. Not saying I listen to it over, my fucking home theater. But to hear the audio be that good on a TV is also pretty goddamn amazing. Like it was weird to hear audio on a TV and go, doable. That's actually doable. And I don't think I've said that before since this TV, where I'm like,
never ever.
I would, it's just, they're so bad. I'd also like to see more games with interactive and destructible environments. I agree.
Yeah.
Do you know how hard it is for the AI, though? You fucking destroy a building, let's say, and the AI can't get by it, and suddenly you're cheating because you can just, they're supposed to be humans, so they should be able to leap over it, but they can't. There's so much stuff with destructible, but I love the idea. I like the idea of it. I love tress effects, I think is what it was called, the hair effects in Alice, American McGee's Alice, and just seeing the hair. Horizon Forbidden Dawn or Forbidden West had good hair too.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of the long when it moves well. That kind
Tomb
of
Raider
stuff.
Had the hair physics.
Yep. Tomb Raider's always pushing the pube hair physics. I'm just joking. That'd be amazing. What else do we got? Any other questions?
We do have some other questions. Yeah, should we?
Yeah, let's do some of those.
Do those. Knucklehead says, "How are you guys with cereal? I assume you aren't psychopaths because cereal always goes in before the milk. But how do you like the ratio? More milk, more cereal, or an equal amount of both? I prefer more milk than cereal because drinking it afterwards is one of the best parts."
He says that there's people who put milk in and then put the cereal on top of it. Huh.
Yes, I've seen a lot of shorts about this. So
listen, that might increase the crunchiness. Like, I don't know. I hadn't thought about that because you are pouring milk on top of everything, and thus, it's getting. Dude, I've never thought about that. I don't think it's a psychopathic because I haven't thought of it. It sounds like something somebody right before they serial killed a bunch of people would do.
Yeah.
And you would put it in a movie and you'd be like, that guy is for sure a serial killer. But when you think about it, there might be like a little bit of time that you have a crunchier cereal. That's pretty sweet. And by the way, more milk, motherfucker, that's like saying less noodles in your soup. That is crazy. Somebody wants more milk. I'll drink a cup of milk for Christ's sakes. But when I'm eating cereal, I want cereal. I don't want fucking that's so weird.
Oh, really? Dude, for me, those suckers can be swimming in as much milk as
well, they can, but if I'm making cereal, I'm not going to put 1 golden gram in the center of a fucking bowl and 2 cups of milk. What the fuck? Why would I even do that? I would pour the milk into a cup. I would drink it, and then I would have cereal with milk in it.
I think the key thing there, Knucklehead, is you want to minimize the amount of time between the cereal making contact with the milk and you eating it. Because the longer that goes for, the soggier it goes. I think the psychopaths are the ones who eat the soggy cereal.
Yeah, I was going to say I definitely have seen the occasional person who's like, digging
They
up.
let it sit.
Yeah, just digging into
I heard
some
one person saying they let it sit for a few minutes because they like the sogginess.
I feel like that person had to have lied. That's so disgusting.
Okay, I heard something else, and you tell me if this is a lie. Someone told me that Americans wait until their pizza cools down before they eat it.
I don't even know what that means. First of all, Americans.
Absolutely all Americans.
All Americans. Like, it's one of the fucking stupidest thing in the world. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember anybody that I know. Well, I mean, if you burn your mouth many times on pizza, I can absolutely see that person saying, I like my pizza less hot.
Sure, or you blow it on it a little, but like letting it cool down. What are we doing?
But I mean, let it cool down? Yes. I let it cool down from the 450 degrees it's fucking cooking at.
But you still want the cheese to be like sort of molten to some extent.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Hot.
It's like, okay, so all Russians eat rotten fucking fish or whatever. No, they don't. Like, it's just stupid. Yeah, I've never heard that. I think the generalizations about anything is so dumb now that it just doesn't even make sense. But no. I've never even seen friends, let's say, I do have that friend I think I told you about who shakes his pop a little bit so that it's a little flatter than normal. And I think there's a reason. I never asked him. I think there's most likely he got tired of opening up the fucking top of a bottle that got tapped and he didn't know, and it shot fucking pop everywhere. And he's like, I'd rather, and then it's easier to drink because the carbonation's a little less burpy, which I think is actually valid. Like if somebody feels pain from, the gas, like Sprite or something that's very
especially if they drink a lot.
Yeah.
I have a silly food question for you. Well, like snack question. So I've been experimenting with different chocolate bars, including like protein bars and stuff. Like right now I'm trying this one. It's called Grenade. It's got like a egg creamy center.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anyway, it tastes pretty good. And it's like, high protein and stuff, which is nice. But I've done Mars, done Snickers this week. They also have like high protein versions of those, which are pretty okay. What's your go-to? Do you have either chocolate bar or like candy bar that
Snickers is the only one I would have any kind of occasional craving for. Three Musketeers are really good because they're just soft, but there's nothing in them. It's just all sugar, and after a while, it doesn't taste as good as when I was a kid. So like Snickers, where it's got peanut, like Snickers, all things being considered, if you are working out, a Snickers would actually benefit you more for a longer workout than, let's say, a Three Musketeers. Yeah, well, I mean, that's because it's actually at least somewhat of a mix. There's peanuts and stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, I would say Snickers. I mean, in the old days, I used to like random things, but candy bars taste... They're not like chocolate bar, like a Carmelo bar, soft chocolate with. I like those more than a candy bar, like the commercialized. To me, Snickers is McDonald's, Carmelo is like Wendy's, and then you get the really expensive chocolates that are like a boutique restaurant. And so I would probably go more towards something that's in the middle than just at the store. Sort of, even though Carmelo's mass packed, but.
Mars was good as well, but I think Snickers is just superior. It's got the
Snickers are good.
Dick vein.
Did I tell you the time I almost broke my jaw on a frozen one? Don't know what I was thinking.
You did actually.
Yeah, man. I mean, I bit that thing. I thought it was going to be like an ice. I don't know what was going on, but man, I bit so hard into that, and it was so frozen that my jaw did I mean, I felt that thing going crack, and it cracked so loud the house heard it. I mean, my wife was like, "Was that your fucking jaw from that Snickers I bought you?" And I was like, "Yes." I don't know what I was doing.
That's when you realize how powerful our
human
jaws are.
Yeah. Dude, crazy. Or when you ever hear, like, especially when you'd be training or they'd be talking about EMT service, they're like, dude, don't get your hand near somebody's mouth, because if they have a seizure or if they're violent and they get a hold of a finger, that thing is gone. Like biting a finger off, completely possible with the human mouth. Yeah. Just absolutely nothing. Let's see. What else do we got?
Good. Yeah, we solved it. Solved the question. The milk. Mr. Patman says, what's a show that gripped you with intrigue and you couldn't stop thinking about it? I just finished binging Severance and I can't wait for season 3. Good show. A bit slow. Severance. And by a bit, I mean, holy, but good. Yeah, good show.
The thing's a time warp. It's so slow. All Apple shows. Apple, they're so glacial in their directing. But I love Backrooms kind of paranormal reality stuff. So Paradise, I would say Startup is one of the best shows I've ever seen, and that was a couple weeks ago, and it's from 2016, I think, so it's old. And then Paradise is getting season 2, and I would say Paradise is one of the first TV shows recently that was made recently as well that made me just go, what in the fuck is happening in this show? And then to suggest it to friends and have them watch it, luckily at the same time frame, and have them literally posting going, dude, this show is so fucking good. And From did that. I couldn't stop watching From. Did you see Paradise yet, Johnny?
No.
God, you got to add it to your gigantic list that's growing.
I know. I have this massive list.
Paradise is one of those ones where you're just like, what? And just all the time. It's so good, man. I love that kind of stuff. What's grabbed you recently?
Recently it's been Travelers. It's been pretty good. It has the intrigue aspect. It's quite nice. Like from all time, definitely Lost and Fringe totally captured me. Yeah, recently not that much stuff in terms of intrigue. Severance was good with intrigue, but I will say it does fall off for me quite a bit after like season 1. I still like it a lot. It's just the pacing definitely is quite slow. I mean, there's a full episode where they're chilling in this like rural city where nothing happens. It's like this lady's hometown, this old lady's hometown. And they're just chilling there. I don't know. It's crazy, but it's good. It's very evocative.
Chance, $10 super chat. Happy Friday, guys. Margs and ACG are the best combo. I don't know what Margs is. Is that short for something? Margs? Margs?
No idea.
I think that's actually not us. I think Margs means it must be slang for like Mars bars. Oh, I bet she's saying Mars bars. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Because I was like, Margs sounds vaguely sexual, but might not be. Benjo UK, $10 super chat. Do either of you fine fellows, have recommendations for old school fantasy or sci-fi books? Just finished reading Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. That was the one you read, right? I think both of us have read that, Johnny. Book of the New Sun.
Gene Wolfe? No.
Oh, you haven't read that?
No, I haven't read that yet.
Yeah, I read it. Old school fantasy or sci-fi. Hang on. My chair is stuck on a wire. Give me. Oh, wow. It's really stuck. Holy shit. Okay. Let's see.
What do you got?
Damn. I mean, old school fantasy. Shit. Anything by David Gemmell. I did like Elf Stones and Wish Song of Shannara by Terry Brooks. I like Lost Kingdom for Sale by Terry Brooks. Those were good. Sword of Truth series, a lot of people like. I'll suggest it. It's old now. Didn't like it that much, but I'm going to suggest one I didn't like just because people seem to love it. Sci-fi, America 2030 by Isaac or Evan Ians, not Isaac Ians. I believe that's the sci-fi YouTuber. But it's Evan Ians. There's 5 books, and it's about America, Brazil, Russia, maybe one other nation going to the same solar system and basically fighting over the new planets there. Fantastic old school sci-fi. Doesn't have the tropes or the methodologies that we see in current sci-fi, which means it's fantastic. Sci-fi romance, bromance kind of sci-fi, I guess, but very enjoyable. Perry Roden, which I believe is is that Russian or Ukrainian? I'm sorry if I get that wrong, because that's two people who, it's hard to get those, mixed up. People get mad.
Oh yeah.
But Perry Roden is like a ripoff Flash Gordon, even though I believe it might have started prior to Flash Gordon. And those are good, fast books to read. I like fast sometimes, man. Some, little short. Doesn't have to always be that giant.
In and
long.
out.
And
you don't need
Dragonlance,
to
obviously.
inhabit.
My favorite series of all time is Dragonlance. Yeah, Dragonlance.
Dragonlance? They have how many books of that? Like 50 books?
Way more than 50. It's well over 100. I will tell you this. With Dragonlance, that shit, I told you this last time you and I talked about, man, that shit's some low-level reading, though. Damn, son. Damn.
What do you mean?
I like 6th grade. So you read
like easy to read, like Harry Potter.
It's easy would be. It's easier than easy. It's
just like chew through.
Dude, they're good plots and they actually have intrigue. It's just that the word use is almost so simple that I have a hard time paying attention, because I love books where they have tons of terms I don't know that are real. Yeah. I don't need them to be like Scientanium. Where you're like, dude, that's Star Trek talk. But if you're dropping words I don't know from the English language, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm into this.
Let's go.
Let's go. Like, if I have to have, I love that. And I love a good writer who can make you know what that word is by the writing around it. Like Altered Carbon from what's his name, where I was reading that going, I don't know what this is. But then I realized by reading it, I'm like, now I know what that is. I know what that term is from now on.
Absolutely. Dude, they do have some invented words, but they have a lot of really good vocabulary.
Well, every fantasy thing's probably going to have some.
Oh yeah,
right. But yeah, Zank series is good. But again, older one. It's just like the median American reading level is around 7th to 8th grade level. Why are we talking about American reading levels all of a sudden? I swear to God. Now we're going to start talking about cereal or pizza again. I don't know.
I have a couple that I thought about, because he was asking for old school.
Old school.
So the 3 Body Problems I think holds up pretty well. Pretty good sci-fi book. And it is pretty old school. Also has a really good Audible version. If you're into audiobooks, I thought the narration was quite good. So I can recommend that one. Carrick doesn't like it.
No, I had a pain thinking that I didn't like remembering the pain of hearing the voice, but it was a different one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I mean, sometimes we have different preferences.
Dude, I'm not good at hiding, like, if something pained me either, because I actually have a physical pain of, like, a Dean Koontz book that was the old ones that are so bad that they're painful, and there's no way I can actually, it's almost like a loud sound that is of a weird kind.
I had a terrible experience with the Witcher books, because they're narrated by this, I think it's like a North Britain guy.
Oh, so it's got an accent.
He's got this heavy accent.
Yeah.
And I know I just didn't click with the accent, and in my brain I kind of have the game Geralt voice, which I know is not the original, but in my brain that's what Geralt sounds like. So when he like pronounces stuff completely differently, it just didn't work with me, but people really liked it. So
yeah, old school science and old school fantasy are so hard too, because fantasy, cyberpunk building out from a lot of elements of sci-fi, but when you look at like sci-fi alone, it's gone through 3 generations, if not 4, of sort of whatever their trope is, because sci-fi gets adjusted by the same stuff that adjusts cyberpunk in some way, because people will read cyberpunk and mix that into their sci-fi. So for example, we didn't see much about sleeves prior to Altered Carbon. And then Altered Carbon comes out, and you notice when you see what year that was published, and then maybe 5 years later,
a thing.
Dude, and then it's in cyberpunk, and then it's replacing the sort of low life, high tech of cyberpunk with like mid tech, and it's not that it's never been there before, it's that it's more prevalent. Yeah, and they sort of mend and build around each other. I've seen sci-fi, or I've seen fantasy do that as well, though. I mean,
Have you read The Name of the Wind?
Yeah. Isn't there's more than one?
Yeah, it's gonna be a trilogy. Right now they have 2 books. The second one is
I was gonna say
the Wise Man's Fear.
That
is maybe one of my favorite fantasy books. And it's kind of old school, but it does some innovative stuff in it, which I extremely, extremely liked. So highly recommend that if you haven't checked it out.
Yeah, any sci-fi stuff, any fantasy stuff's always good for me. I love that shit. What else we got for questions?
Okay, let's see. This one from Cloud Cutter. Every time I watch a Direct, SGF, Game Awards, State of Play, Nintendo Direct, etc., I find most games I say is not for me. I have one of every current console, so I consider myself a gamer. It just seems like games as an industry are so oversaturated now, in my opinion. Niches on top of niches. Do you consider this the new normal, how it's always been, or a personal issue for me? I mean, good self-awareness. Good on you for considering at least that it could be you. Like sometimes you are the problem. Yeah. I find I'm still just as excited for stuff as I was, 10 years ago.
Right.
Different games, but still, like right now, Neo 3 is coming out, and I'm super excited about it. Just to give an example, and I've had. I can
also say if you have like $200,000, you've got, and once you have that much, I think it sort of burdens your head. And so we already had a shit ton of games in the SNES and Genesis days to the point where I couldn't play them all. And then as you continue to grow, you get more, plus you're old, meaning you can play more current, but you can also play your old ones. You can play more current, you can play your old ones. And it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, which is also one of the reasons why, believe it or not, I mean, I think everybody believes this because it's real, but every new game is fighting old game sales or packages or, something else that's been out for a while and patched, whatever. So I don't think of it as anything other than there's always been a ton of games. It's just maybe your knowledge about those games is higher, meaning you're alerted to them. Think about it pre-YouTube. How were you alerted about a game pre-YouTube? TV shows, magazines. That's it. That's all. Now, every single company has their own YouTube. Those are piped into your feed instantly if you have your notifications on. And so it can appear to be like, oh, nothing's interesting me because you're getting inundated with 60 trailers that may not interest you. I mean, I think that's very real. I would say of all the trailers I see, let me tell you from my standpoint as a reviewer, do I feel like more games are offered to me to review that are less interesting than they were in the old days? 2 things. Yes, for sure, numbers. Also, some of it's my fault because I was asking for particular games in the old days. So maybe those games were ones I was really, and they weren't reaching out to me, but they were still being made. It's just they weren't reaching out to me. So yeah, it's a you problem in a way. But it's not something to be worried about. Dude, there's something that goes on with games where it's like, in a way, just be happy your industry is so successful that there's too much. Because I'm part of 6 industries that there is not enough because there is no interest. That sucks balls.
Yes, I was going to say that. If I watched one of those shows and like 0 games interested me, that would bother me because that would be indicative of maybe, I don't know,
your
maybe I'm
tastes are
just
changing
falling.
Or their chasers.
Maybe I'm falling out of love with gaming, right? But actually what I see is that usually there's like 1 or 2 that really get me going, and a couple that maybe I'll dabble in. That's usually my experience in those big shows. And I think that's a good place to be in, shouldn't feel bad if not a lot of games.
I don't think it would even happen in one show either. It would take a couple shows where nothing interested you for you to even question it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've had some that,
dude. Yeah,
we watch
some,
like,
yeah. There's 10 games on there, and it's the comfy time frame, and I'm like, I'm done. Or it's 17 Dark Souls, and I'm like, okay, all right. I'm probably just mentally not interested versus truly not interested. Also, the games come out, they can be something different than you expected. Surprise, they can be worse. Yeah, but I get where you're coming from. There's a lot of games out there, but again, be incredibly happy your industry has a ton of games, because as you know, we had the big layoffs, all that stuff we still do. It's still the biggest industry, and you know, I'm parts of industries that are not big, and it sucks. There's few things that suck more than knowing when you walk into a room and you mention 5 or 6 of your hobbies, and you know people are going to be like, what's that? Like, well, I crochet underwear. You know, probably not going to capture a lot of interest.
Wow, talk about a niche of a niche, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
so it's not crocheting.
Have you ever tried to use a crocheted blanket too? What false advertising that shit is. Crochet with the big old gaps between each one. You put it over your feet. And you're like, this is not a blanket. It fakes a blanket. It's not even as good as a sheet. It's a goddamn net for fish that's made of fabric, and they sell it as they'll be like, you want a crocheted blanket? You put that thing on, you'll be like, dude, there's no blanket on me. It's a fucking mesh. I hate
There's
that
only
shit.
one thing worse than that in terms of false advertising.
A scratchy wool sweater on a rainy, hot day.
Okay, that's absolutely terrible too.
They're horrid.
But equally as bad. Yeah, because the wind goes right through
dude,
them.
and you get clammy. Yeah, it's terrible. Anyway, continue. What were you saying?
Okay, but napkins that are these sort of like plasticky napkins. So like when you put them to your mouth, they actually don't absorb anything.
Yes.
They just like move it around a bit.
Around on your face. Yeah. Dude, and the higher, if you go to McDonald's, you're going to get a napkin that works. Somehow, the more money you pay for the fucking meal, the less chance that napkin is going to do shit. You get that napkin, it's like a fucking tarp. And a tarp is one of the best ways to like stop water from getting in. You grab a tarp, you slap it on your face, and you smash down the spaghetti sauce you tried to wipe off. Dude, it's such, I hate that shit. And it's
like, come on, guys, we had it figured out. Like we had napkins that work.
Sometimes there isn't something more efficient than a really good absorbent napkin.
Yeah.
Like that is just, we're there. We're done. We're done.
Or listen, if you want to be environmental, give me some cloth napkin that you're going to wash later, or figure it out, you know? Like it needs to work.
Maybe because of the beard, cloth does a lot of the same thing to me as the expensive ones, though. I don't like them as much. But I don't care if I go to like some super fancy restaurant, get a 4-star meal, 5-star meal, and they bring me a McDonald's. It could say McDonald's on it, and I'd still be happier than whatever napkin I got. Like it could slap down. They were like, we went to McDonald's, we stole these napkins out of their little receptacle. Here they are. I'd be like, well, thank you. Here's a tip, because that will actually fucking work. God damn, man.
Another annoying trend is the paper straws. Do you guys have that in America?
It's not even a straw. It's a piece of paper that's folded into a fucking circle.
It is a ticking time bomb.
And yes, and they melt at the bottom, or they get like
they melt.
They'll be like, no, these are cardboard. They're not going to melt right away. Bullshit, man. Unless you're just sucking down.
Yeah. So you got this big milkshake, right? I mean, look, I don't even live in America where you get the big milkshakes, but like it's still a big milkshake. I'm drinking this thing, and as I'm drinking it, I can sense the straw undoing itself onto itself. So now it doesn't even work at some point. So it's this like ticking time bomb where I have X amount of time to drink the milkshake, or I just won't be drinking it.
You know what's interesting? That's one place where I would say that while, yes, we have the option in some places to get a bigger milkshake, most of the time they're just the 12 to 16 ounces. They're like a pop can, like a 12-ounce pop of shake. So like when I go to the restaurant, they will have the mixer. I don't know if you get those, where they'll pour the milkshake into the glass, and if there's any remaining, they'll give you the metal thing that they mixed it in. But
Okay,
weirdly enough, at least where I am, other than if you go to like Dairy Queen and you get the old 64 ounce or whatever the fuck that thing, something that's like nightmarishly big. I think with ice cream, you can definitely get ice cream scoops, but shakes in particular, that's a lot of it's food. A shake is not like a pop, right? It's like a thing. So I've noticed, at least where I am, most of the time when I go to a restaurant, even a large shake is not really, I think what's in your brain is like going and getting a pop at like 7-Eleven, even though that's not American. 7-Eleven's everywhere, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. I do like a shake, though, a good shake. Like I never can finish a shake, though, but I love the bottom of a shake. There are a few things as good. Orgasms, certain types of sex, good airsoft gun, very good game, bottom of a shake. Those are like five of the best.
It's up there.
Dude, I don't know what goes on at the bottom of a shake other than, I know how shit falls, but the bottom of a shake is... Have you ever got to the bottom of a shake and been like, why is the fucking entire shake not taste this good? I've been drinking a shake that was at best mediocre. And then you get to that like 1/4 and your brain goes, oh, wait a minute. This is like when I was a kid. This shake is delicious. And then everybody in the room has to listen to you slurp that last bottom of the shake where you're just like as hard as you can, because whatever is at the bottom is the magic sauce. It's like angels just died in there for that shake. And I love it, man. Bottom is a shake. So good.
What's your go-to?
My paper straw on my flat planet. What?
What's your go-to flavor? I usually do like Oreo shakes.
Okay, those are shakes. I was going to say they're not, but I think when an Oreo shake has a bunch of material in it, it's closer to a Blizzard. From,
it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking in.
Yeah, I do like Oreo, but here's the problem. Yeah. They never crunch it enough so the straw doesn't suck up all the pieces, and that infuriates me. So I would say just vanilla or chocolate. I mean, in raspberry, but most of the places around here don't do blackberry or raspberry, even though Oregon's known for blackberries. But if you can get a blackberry one, because I have little seeds in it, the little blackberries, and a good blackberry shake is so, you can't have a big one because it's a taste. It's not.
Yeah, it's a bit sour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a relaxed taste like vanilla or even chocolate's pretty relaxed. But I mean, boysenberry. I like berry stuff, like ice cream.
Yeah.
Dude, blackberry ice cream, raspberry ice cream, boysenberry ice cream is one of the best things I've ever had. But you can't, or at least I can't scoop it like I would vanilla. Like vanilla, in my old days, I would give my wife, I would scoop my wife out from the half gallon of ice cream, and then I would just eat the
rest.
Remainder. Yeah, and it was all of it. We're not talking a minimal amount. It was a joke amongst my friends that, like, if you get a half gallon of ice cream with Carrick, make sure you get in there quick and get as much as you can, because whatever's in the container is the bowl. And I don't even eat ice cream.
That's not
anymore,
going back into the freezer.
No, dude. I'm like, why dirty a bowl? I'm just going to dirty the spoon, and I'll just fucking mow this piece of shit. Like, I vanilla ice cream in particular. Like when I'm with friends and we're playing games, I love some vanilla ice cream. I don't know. I don't do it anymore. Probably for the betterment of my, my pancreas.
Do you know how like people differentiate between ice cream and gelato and like
I don't.
These different types?
I don't. I mean, I just usually have ice cream. I know that there's different, and frozen yogurt doesn't taste to me like ice cream, but it mimics it as much as you can do so with a low fat whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I usually just
I've always just stuck with normal ice cream.
Speaking of food, though, food in games, man. Remember Final Fantasy Boy Toy? Boy Toy. Boy Band.
That sounds hella wrong.
Boy Toy. Was Final Fantasy 15, man? I remember going in and they were cooking food and just looking at that.
Yeah,
going,
with the foods,
damn,
that ramen
so
and stuff.
Good. Yes. They did such a good job with the graphics on that. I think that's so funny, too, because what a dumb thing to celebrate. But at the same time, consistently not good in every other game until you get, in particular, Final Fantasy games. And then, of course, you get the fake, or not fake, but you get the FMV food.
FMV.
Yeah.
Was that good or bad, do you think? I think I prefer
graphical.
The graphical. Like, for example, Monster Hunter did it pretty well. Like, they had the ridiculous cheese on top of the steak. I thought, hey, that's cool. Doesn't work in reality. I tried, but
yeah,
I mean,
FMV anything.
Yeah.
Like, remember the FMV in Yakuza? The girls that were FMV? I always
Dude,
felt like that. Yeah, I always felt
it was
like
so off-putting as well.
it was off-putting.
Yeah.
It was weird because you see it and you're like, oh, okay, this could work out, and it didn't. It felt it wasn't bad, or it just felt weird. It just I think the art style in a game, if it's the same all the way across, it works. So when you get an FMV, it looks cool, and
there
I love
is something
the idea.
about the FMV.
Yeah, it breaks out of the, because Uncanny Valley's fine for me, but if you suddenly have an FMV, I'm like, it reminds me of when I was a young kid, and occasionally you'd have a game where they had an FMV for the cutscene, and you'd be like, well, we know the game's not going to look like this, so why are we doing it? Obviously, it saves money compared to rendering out a bunch of shit, but yeah. Yeah, I love good food, and when it looks good, it's such a cool moment when you or a game that takes its time to make the food look real when they eat it too. Doesn't happen very often, but or you get somebody who drink. I mean, in the old days, you get somebody drinking out of a glass and the water would stay in, and they just didn't have the money to render that going down and animate everything. Then you see those games where like a person will take a shot and you'll see it like sort of, I guess you would say, sort of go in their mouth. It's not the greatest animation, but it was such a step forward, being like, oh, that's fucking cool. You know, I don't need to see somebody poop, but eating.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was actually going to bring that up. That we never see in games like. Yeah, I guess we don't need to go there.
Dispatch was the closest. You heard somebody with the shits, and you watched them pee, but you don't see anything. But you know they're at the urinal. This is as far as we need to go.
That's trending. You could pee, but it was purely optional.
Could you spin the camera around and see as Peter?
No.
How did they occlude that? How did they make it so you couldn't see as Peter with the 360 camera? I wonder. Maybe they just made sure.
Honestly, I don't remember. I can honestly say I didn't try. I know that like in the changing room or the private rooms, when you try to like look at his bulge, he would like.
Oh, he hits the camera or something. Doesn't
he hits the camera or something like that. So maybe there's something like that goes on.
What a tease! What a tease! Because why even? You've got the animation, everything there. It's like, dude, just don't let the camera go down to his junk. Why are we wasting? Like, what are we doing here? But I've always thought that stuff
nice
is sort of
touch,
stupid.
Though.
Cyberpunk,
it's a little bit like
Cyberpunk. You can pick Peters, and I'm like, dude, this does nothing for me. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, that did nothing.
They're like, you can have Bush from the 1970s, perfect triangle. I'm just like, dude,
at least in the Conan game, you had it hanging, so. You know, at the very least, you're seeing it.
Conan,
the game.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, you got a big old flaccid wanker, don't you? I forgot about that. Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird. That was a weird game. That seemed like that was just done to be like, hey, look, you can do the, you can put a schlong on there and pretend it's yours, even though, let's be honest, it's probably way bigger than yours.
It surprises me that having your junk down there was adaptive for evolution, because evolution didn't take into account that we would be wearing pants or like protection. It was just, you
wear a pair of whitey tighties and you can tell that evolution did not know. It did not see clothing, and people didn't see clothing for a long time because or even bras, you see all of that kind of stuff.
Imagine, have you ever tried to run while completely butt naked?
No. I mean, no, sorry. I said, way too soon. I thought you were going to say like in a pair of boxers or something with no support versus like the support briefs, but I have ran in boxers before with baggy pants.
So it's maybe 90%
It gave me a stomach ache. It gave me a stomach ache because you're sort of, jostling the jimmies a little bit. And I was like, that's not necessarily like good for you.
Yeah. Imagine you're hunting a zebra like that.
And you just swinging in the wind. Dude, if I was going to hunt a zebra, I would probably just wait till something took it down and try to kill that. Because, like, how is a human going to hunt it? I mean, obviously you can sneak up on them, but I'm saying zebras pretty fucking fast. Zebras also seem ornery. They seem like they're donkey style. That sounded weird. But their way of acting seems unruly. Like a donkey. I feel like if a donkey or zebra, if you tried to hunt one and you missed, they're not going to run. They're going to come at you. And I don't want to. I've got horse bit before. You ever been bit by a horse?
No.
Imagine a really fast vice grabbing onto your skin and twisting it, because they don't just go, they grab it and twist, and it is motherfucking painful. It's like 2 forearms going on your skin and then yanking.
I
and
never
twisting.
thought of that.
Dude, I got one in the back. He got my ear one time, and he got my hair and the back of my scalp. And it's the first time ever where I'm pretty sure I could have ran 10 miles per hour faster because I was aerodynamic from him pulling my head back. Like it felt like my eyes were going to explode. He got the back of my head and was like, and he yanked back. And I remember being like, that is the most painful. Reminded me of the story from a journal somebody wrote about getting scalped. And I thought my head was just going to come off. It was horrible. Yeah, I think a zebra, I'd probably wait. I'd wait for another human to hunt it and then take out the human.
Or you would trap it,
Or trap it. Yeah.
Trap it's probably the best way.
Probably, yeah. Figure out what they like to eat, put it in a nice box.
Yeah. Unless we had actual bows or crossbows. Then we're gaming.
When you said hunt it, I was thinking like fucking stick.
No, me too. I was thinking
anything good where you're trying to use that stick.
I mean, your sharp stick, that's got a 5% chance of.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times as a kid we would go into the backyard, you'd break a stick off of an old tree, you'd get it shaved down with like a knife or something, you'd throw it. And because it wasn't hardened over fire or, the multiple ways in which like tribes will harden something, it hit dirt and you'd pull it up and the end would be, you'd have to throw that thing so hard that first time because there's almost no chance of it puncturing skin. I had somebody hit me in the back with a spear and it didn't go through, or it didn't like pierce. A friend just threw a sharpened stick at me.
Let alone throwing it. Imagine the force you would need to apply for it to actually,
You seen the guys with the slings, like the villagers who use the sling? It's the length of rope. So when they throw it, then it whips, and those things move. That thing would go through you probably. Like I've seen that thing sticking into wood, and I'm like, damn, okay, I love that a person just comes up with that idea. They're like, hey, I got an idea. Let's put a strap on the end of this stick. And you're like, but it'd be so inaccurate. Obviously, years of using the same strap or whatever, almost like a slingshot. Like I can't hit shit with a slingshot. I didn't realize how much finger like finesse you have to put on a slingshot to get it just right without it going right or left. It was always one of those interesting things. What else do we got for questions?
That was it for today for questions.
Let me look at Twitter. Oh, we still got more people talking about Styx Blades of Greed. That comes out soon too. So many good games, man. I got 3 for review right now.
Is that a remaster of the old
That's
Styx?
a sequel. It's a sequel.
Full new game?
Full sequel, yeah. Let's see. This question is, Dead Island or Dying Light? Which series do you prefer? Ooh, that's a good
say again,
shit.
Sorry, which series?
Dead Island or Dying Light? Which of those two? Which of the two zombie games? Dude, Dead Island 2 was great. And I liked Dying Light. I've liked all the Dying Lights in some.
Yeah, I think just Dying Light for me, because I like the open world parkour stuff.
Before Dead Island 2 came out, Dying Light would have won like hands down. But have you done Dead Island 2?
Yeah.
I
Not
just
all
really,
of it.
I just really liked it as a feel. Like it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt enjoyable. My YouTube crashed, so if anybody does a super chat, tell me. I don't know what's going on with my YouTube. I'm going to have to reboot this thing is what I'm going to have to do. Dude, I swear to God, I'm having
interesting
issues. Yeah.
Because they start a lot of melee mechanics that became, really really important later on. I just
they started.
I kept hearing
they
invented
added
a lot of
powers.
stuff.
They added more powers to him. It's been, dude, I don't know when 2 came out. It's got to be 8 years, right? Since Styx 2. I feel like it's 8 years. Maybe I'm completely off on that. It feels like it's been ages. So I don't know what they added for Styx, but that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I think for Styx, I'm just a fan because overall those games, they do well showing a different creature being the hero I guess. Oh, whoops, I'm way off. You could have told me.
I was just losing you over time, man.
Yeah, dude, I was just sliding. Man, by the time we were done, I would have been in fucking Nebraska, man. I just looked at the camera. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Half of my head. I'm just sitting here yakking. That's funny as shit. I don't believe Crimson Desert is real. Oh, that's a joke. Okay. I thought it was. I was like, we've literally, people have been hands-on with Crimson
They
Desert.
had a new video, right? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Dying Light for sure. 2 fumbled it. Oh, weird. That's interesting. That's the first time I've heard anybody who disliked 2. Let's see.
Beast. I like 2. The Beast was good.
Beast was good. I liked it, I think, less than 2, but I don't think I've seen anything on Crimson Desert. Wow. Okay. Well, that's...
Yeah.
Hey, I know a lot of people are trying to basically, I guess you would say, stay spoiler-free would be the way of saying it. That's crazy, though. I don't even know how you're going to do it. How would you stay spoiler-free on that game? It's the most anticipated game this year already. Most anticipated, at least, outside of GTA. Let's be real. We're talking about the list of normal games. I don't even think GTA needs to be on the list. It's its own thing. It's fucking insane, man. What else do we got? There's got to be some more gaming news, man. We're only 2 hours into this. Okay, we're 3. Sorry, I looked down.
No, we're
it was
3.
2, and now we're 3.
We're 3.
Highguard got a 5v5 and got 5v5 and a performance patch and a new base right now.
Whoa, that was fast.
Yeah.
See, that's good. That was one of the main complaints, that the 3v3 wasn't good because of the size of the maps and stuff.
I heard that as well, that there wasn't like enough people on the maps.
Yep.
Then
we got to see some performance improvements, like significant performance improvements for a competitive game like that.
Samsung, they got that's the GTA style but smaller game that they showed at the last event. It got a development diary today for Combat and Vehicles, is what it's called. The Combat and Vehicles update. I'm liking some of these updates, man. Crimson Desert, I went from like, but I'll wait, or, I'm like, I like the idea, but let's see, to basically incredibly excited for it. Like everything they've shown looks like pretty much what I've been hoping for. We'll have to see the combat, but the combat even looked better, and that was good to see. Combat looked, because I was a little worried about that combat, and the not rumors, but the indications I've had were, that it could be rough at times, but it sounds like it's not. Sounds like it's actually doing well. Do you think
it's at the level of like an Elix jank?
Oh, I think it's above Elix in its polish by a good amount. Yeah.
Okay.
Just the money and time and what those guys have put together. The video they showed didn't really have anything in it that made me go, this is impossible. Well, there was nothing in the Crimson Desert, like trailers, that have looked impossible. Despite what like the world would have you believe, you are not ready for this. No, you're ready. It's a fucking third-person action game. Come on. But what they showed didn't have any idiosyncrasies that made me go like, And I always have had them in the past with the combat. So this is the first time where it showed him doing combat, and I was like, okay. And the next video, I think they say at the end of this video, they say the next one will be about combat. So that'll be sort of your like, maybe a better shine on it. We'll have to see. Let's see. GTA going to win most anticipated game 3 years in a row at Gaming Awards. Yeah, even after it's out. It'll be out, and they'll be like, what is your most anticipated game? Or they'll do that shit, and they'll be like, what's your most anticipated game or DLC? And they'll be like, online for GTA. Or GTA PC. We'll lose out anyway. People are talking about Code Vein, too. Did you play that?
No, I watched Cowboy play that a bit, and just with Neo being around, that's the Souls game I'm going to play. It's just not... It's unfortunate for them, man. I don't know if they could have avoided it, but the release time frame is pretty bad for them.
Oh, yeah. And it is.
Seems to be an okay game, but they're always kind of on the budget side. for Souls games, so you're already expecting like a lower level game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see that. I mean, dude, it's a bad time to release. GTA's coming. Fucking Neo's coming. Is Final Fantasy this year? The Final Fantasy Part 3? Okay. But there are some huge games. There's a couple shadow drops that are probably coming.
Yeah.
Some remakes.
But this
you know
one,
what I mean?
This one is almost to the level of Horizon. You know how Horizon released twice together with another big open world game?
I think true, but I think because it's so different than the first one, at least from what I'm hearing from people who played it, they're like, it really changes a shit ton from the first one. It feels like they sort of shot themselves in the foot. Like, at what point do you change the name, Johnny? At what point do you be like, it's called Code Vein 2. Why don't you call it Vein Code? Do something.
I think the removal of co-op is a big problem too, because that was a big part of the fun factor with that game. Just go in and...
Oh, people are saying they don't think GTA's coming this year. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a...
Okay, where are you on right now? if you were to place a bet, not that you're a bet man.
I'll make the same bet that I made when I made it with Abzi 2 years ago. That it's for sure this year.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's reasons, but it's like,
I think
whatever.
It's gotta be. I don't think they would fumble that one.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a fumble if they trying to walk around something. Wouldn't be a fumble if something major happened and... Okay, let me change that. Okay. You're not getting more powerful consoles. Right?
Right.
So there's nothing new to make it for. And there's no new optimizations to make it for anything that's more powerful. You are now locked in to exactly the systems that you have. Now I'm going to shut up. Yeah.
What are you hiding, Carrick?
I'm just saying that nothing.
We'll get it out of him, chat, eventually. We'll keep digging.
I mean, if you look at the idea of delaying a game, you have to look at why, which isn't just I bet it's delayed, right? The facts of why it would be delayed, not just I have a feeling. If you look at the facts why something's delayed and when something was prepared to be released originally, and then, leaks that people have reported on, it's pretty easy to identify when and where something's coming. But what I was going to say was, the delay wouldn't be for I don't think it would be for optimizations or something like that. So the only other reason would be let's say we want to do online day one, or we want to do a PC overlap, but you're trying to make your money back from a game that's already been delayed multiple times and taken almost close to a decade to make. Financially, plus where we are with the lack of new cards, the lack of new consoles, where there is no new tech. There's just what we have now. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why that makes sense. Olferd Narnax, $7 super chat. How do you get a $7 super chat? That's so weird. I didn't know you could enter in your own amount. Playing GTA 6 on the Series X, which is a 2020 machine, should be interesting. Yeah. I'm not hedging. Like I said, my bet 2 years ago, right? Was that 2 years when Abzi and I made that bet?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Time flies.
I don't think it's going to run above 30 FPS on consoles. Dude. The trailers and the stuff they've shown you look at like what games normally are out on console, and then you look at like their trailer and you're like, dude, because I see that type of comment and I'm like, yeah, it's insane. But then you also do look at the games that they have got running and how they've stood the test of time for like 8 years. And you're
Red
just like,
Dead 2
dude,
was running on a PS4.
Yeah. Even though Red Dead 2, I think, did indicate how problematic it can be, because the worst FPS in that game on consoles was, weirdly enough, the city. Not weirdly enough as in it was surprising. In fact, it wasn't surprising. But I mean, ironically enough, was in the one place that this game is going to be, which is in a city, right? Like, I have a feeling people should be prepared for graphic sliders. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be prepped for them sliders or whatever. It's just going to be one of those things.
Yeah. There's going to be some thermal throttling there going on.
Yeah, like pedestrian levels we see. Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they show in the last trailer, they said PlayStation footage? Didn't they say that in the last trailer? I could be wrong on that, because we've seen a lot of trailers lately, but for some reason I thought I saw that in the last trailer. And I'm always like, I don't think so. I don't know. Have you ever heard of a game called Whisper of Fall Yinaway? I've not.
No.
I love the concept of the whole being able to go into a bunch of buildings. Me too. I think that's awesome. I will say, though, that they're the one company in the world, when you look at those guys, that, though I think nobody wants to delay, there's very few companies that feel like they're just not able, because it's a financial hit, but more able to delay to get something performant. And let's be honest, their games haven't been the greatest day one sometimes. They've needed they've needed patches. I mean, PC
GTA 5 was pretty bad.
Yeah, there were some issues there. Yeah. They maybe that's one thing that we see, what we see after 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And it's easy to look at GTA, for instance, and brainwash yourself into thinking everything was perfect day one, when in reality, their way of delivering a world makes you overlook some of those things, because the world does have more stuff than most open world games. I mean, when you think about it, they've got more things going on, so you're like, we'll have to see how much or how low the resolution is. 360, 360p upscaled 4 times by Pisser and whatever Xbox will be using, FSR, whatever.
Talk about a poor choice of name as well.
PlayStation
acronym.
Oh, dude, I love it. It's like instantly when you saw it, I don't know of anybody who didn't see that in your brain. I mean, it's actually like what you pronounce in your head when you read it. You're like, Pisser?
Even the Digital Foundry guys, who are super professional and polite, called it Pisser. They won.
Doubt it. How could you not? If you saw it, that's... Can you imagine if the acronym was like KUTZ? I'm just saying, what would you think in your brain? If you read that, you'd be like, uh-oh. And you'd have to make sure that you didn't put an N in there. Cuts versus the other. I mean, humans, the way we read, we don't use all the letters most of the time, Like, you just see those things side by side and your brain's like, yep. Except I don't do that with USSR. I don't read USSR and go, Ooser. Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be weird? But I mean, I think it's because you were raised on that. But it is interesting that, or you don't go USA for USA. At least I don't. I mean, maybe somebody does. But what would quality mode really bring with GTA on Series X? I'm not crossing my fingers. I don't know. Series X has some really cool... I don't know if they use the specific mesh shaders on the Series X for that. I have no clue. Yeah, it's not. I mean, Series X, PlayStation, they're identical at this point. Like, each company seems to have pretty well dialed down to be able to get it. Series S, though? And they say it'll run on the Series S.
Whew.
Now, admittedly, we've seen ray trace. The Series S is actually, even though the technology is all wonky on that system, it's shot above where I expected it to on many a game, because they have some efficiencies there. But dude, you're talking about,
remember Gears 5.
Oh yeah,
That thing
even
looked
Legion
incredible.
had some of the ray tracing and stuff on it, and you're like, okay, shit, that's I like that. Some people get mad about it almost. They're like, oh my god, it's running on it, but you got to turn this and this down. And I'm looking at the hardware, going, dude, it's efficiency and optimization is pretty fucking cool. I think it's awesome when somebody can figure that out. Regardless. I mean, let's be honest. If you believe the Steam Deck aficionados, Cyberpunk runs at 4K 60 native. So you've got to, I mean, dude, the amount of bullshit in that one. And then, oh, yeah, it should be interesting. We'll have to see. I don't know if it will happen though. I feel like quality mode. What if they just did a performance mode? I'd be fine with that. What if they just said, hey, everybody, we're just 30 is your game, performance mode. Quality 15, right? Your performance mode is 30. Anybody got any questions before we wrap it up? Like a Friday night?
Corey had a question there in chat. He was saying, how's that work with games taking forever to make? And then when they come out, the game engine is old. Does that mean we never get current tech?
I would agree with that. I would say almost any game. What was the game that went from Unreal 4 to 5? There were 3 or 4 games that came out that had started on 4 and got updated to 5 in the last 3 to 6 months. And some companies didn't do it, and people were mad because I guess there was an efficiency in the new Unreal or something like that. I remember this popping up. Yeah, we don't get, I mean, there's always going to be some update. They can patch it in later, but yeah, that's right. I would say you don't, just because of the way games are made, you have to lock it down at some point. Did you see what Crimson Desert stated? I thought this was interesting. They're like, game's gold, and now we're just going to be optimizing. And so many people are confused because in the old days, gold meant the disc, and it was locked in. And that's not at all what it means. They're like, no, now we have a bunch of optimizations. And day one patches are a big deal, regardless if we like them or not. I sort of do like them in the aspect that they are prepared to ship and they got to get it to people and they can still do some work. I don't want day one patch making it playable. That's ridiculous. Like, that sucks. Anyway, anything else?
I had a couple of science-y topics.
Let's do it. And we'll wrap
that I saw this week. NASA is testing something called the Artemis 2. So it's a moon rocket. This thing is supposed to be to do like to be able to fly around the moon. And they're doing basically a big fueling test for it. They're calling it a wet dress rehearsal.
Wet dress.
Which, by the way, why is the dress wet in that metaphor? It just sounds wrong to me.
I gotta point something out that just got announced. Catherine O'Hara, Schitt's Creek, Beetlejuice. No, was she Beetlejuice? Was she the mom in Beetlejuice? She was the mom in Home Alone. She just died at 71.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was Home Alone. Yeah, she's fucking hilarious as shit. I love that lady. Loved her. Yeah, Beetlejuice. Yeah, Beetlejuice, Home Alone, Schitt's Creek. Yeah, she just passed away just now. Sorry about that. I just loved her. But I don't know why it's wet.
She was great in those.
But I do love the idea of going back to the moon. I think that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were going to say the wet dress.
Well, I mean, that goes without saying. If there's a dress anywhere, it should be wet, right?
Isn't it crazy that we haven't been back to the moon? Like, we hit that thing.
Sort of.
When was it, in the 90s?
There. Yeah. There's not a lot there, right? Like, I mean, there are now, and we have a facility, or we have the ability to possibly manufacture whatever, but you know what I mean? It's like, you look at the moon and you're like, okay. Yeah. I think everybody saw Mars and saw that it was a tiny bit closer, and as in closer to like being able to walk around and sort of like show more of the fantasy of people expanding. Because you don't really want to go to the same place too many times, but you are right. I mean, we went there a couple times. It's not like we went there once and turned around, you know. We went there a couple times. There was a couple moonwalks, so like it wasn't once. I don't remember how many it was.
Okay, I thought it was literally the one time, and that we've never landed on it.
We landed. How many times did we go? Let me check. How many
Get a fact check on that one.
Did we land on the moon? And China and Japan, I think, are going 6 times. Yeah, 6.
Really?
Yeah.
That's like landing on it?
For some reason, I was going to guess 4, but it's 6. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. That's way better.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, but by the 5th or 6th guy, you have to come up with a one-liner that's better than like, this is one small step for man. Like at that point, you're dropping.
Hard to beat that one.
Yeah, well,
Hard to beat that.
Will the real Slims? You know what I mean? You got to figure out something to say on there that people are going to play. No one cared, man.
Because there isn't anything you can like mine or anything you can bring back.
Well, we
that's
couldn't back
valuable,
then.
Right?
Now I suppose we can much better. But back then, yeah. I mean, we got there with a Texas Instruments calculator and some fucking people hoping that they didn't crash full speed into the moon.
Yeah.
And we almost lost like a couple different groups. So at some point you look at it and you're like, let's go to Mars. Get your ass to Mars. I love the idea of going to Mars too. I just love the idea of going to Mars and landing.
Just
like
not
it would
the
be
first. The first crew.
No. The first crew is going to probably crater because somebody will forget to do feet and meters, right? But
yeah,
you go back to the moon to set up your base. You know, maybe to sort of just say we're here. But you go to Mars
what would be
to
your
be like,
job?
this is the future.
So you're like colonist Carrick. Maybe like
shit.
3rd generation.
Security.
You know, so like people are settled in. You can kind of Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's the only thing I would say that I still remember everything, and it would be a useful parameter versus what are you going to do, influencer?
Just
I mean, I guess I could make
on
videos, but that'd be ridiculous. Can you imagine me? They'd be like, "Why is this jackass with what's this fucking idiot doing?"
Can't you do this from Earth, bro?
I mean, I still remember procedures and stuff for investigations. That would probably be.
So you would be like keeping an eye on people doing suspicious
you keep an eye
stuff.
on everything,
like,
dude.
Hey, Jimmy, I see you there. Keep your hands out of the
fucking lethal weapon. I'm not like leaping over the rover, sliding across it with a space Beretta. No, it'd be like inventory. Make sure somebody when they take
stay away from the cookies, Jimmy.
Stay away, dude. Dude, your pancreas, we don't have the chemicals here to fight, diabetes, man. You got to stop it with the cookies, man. Yeah.
That's the shit job, isn't it? Being a doctor there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't have the tools, you're super limited.
Yeah. I think also when you go to Mars, like that's the place that sort of captures people because a little bit, it's called, it's Sister Earth. It's been that for years. So the idea of going back to Mars with people is a bigger deal. It just captures, the attention a little bit more. But I do think drones are probably the big bonus now for space landing on planets before we get there. Because remember back in the day, you'd land, you got a rover, and this is how fast the rover went at full speed. Right? And it used its ice cream scoop, and you were lucky if it scooped up some dirt. And now you've got these fucking drones that repower themselves and fly around. If it were me and I had the druthers, if I was like Elon Musk, I would send a rocket there with a ton of drones. Use the drone swarm thing.
Spit out your drones.
Just spit out the drones, take footage, really like give people the panoramic view. Because I think they only had one, or maybe they've done 2, but the idea of small ones, they don't need to last forever either. I mean, it's super low gravity. Throw a ton of drones now that we have the technology. And and then that way, if you have a drone go bad, you got another drone to replace it. So you throw a bunch of smaller drones on there. They're going out, they're charging up, they're just doing collecting. And honestly, not only collecting, but sightseeing for people to be interested. It's a big thing, dude. You know how it is. Salesmanship is 90% of the product. And you got to make people want to go to Mars, like that aren't just explorers, because we give money to explorers to do shit so we don't die. Like that's how humanity works. That's why there were patrons for Vikings, or there were kings that gave a Viking. They got some of the money, but those people got paid. Dude, you don't want to be the explorer. Fuck that. I want to be the tourist.
Some people do. And
no.
Thank God.
No.
Some people do.
Great. I'll pay for them to go. And then I want to be the tourist, where it's as simple as going to YouTube, or not YouTube, but going to the internet and going, I want to book a flight to Mars. That's when I would go. But I mean, going, unless I was sick or something. If I was sick or had like a debilitating illness that didn't affect the mission, I'd go then, because I would know, that'd be cool. To die on Mars versus Earth. I mean, I'd lose my family, but it'd still be cool. It'd be cool to be on another planet. Do you ever worry that your gravesite will be alone? Because I do. I've thought about that before. Yes. The idea of dying on the moon and knowing that no one, it sounds so weird when I say it, but I've always been like that, where I get a little nostalgic for the idea that or sailors where, the boat, their boat goes down, sinks. I've always been like, man, no one's going to be able to see their grave, even though it's not real, obviously, and a lot of people get buried with just their toe. So it's not like my toe's going to be lonely. But yeah, I do. I think about that on the moon in particular.
Damn. Yeah, I've always thought of the romantic idea of somebody just throwing your ashes into the ocean kind of thing. Yeah. Just going back to the system.
As long as they do it very well and they don't have teeth still in there and shit, right?
Or
you don't want to be throwing
the
parts
wind
of Jimmy
coming
out in his fucking femur and and then it hits the rocks and then you see a seal grab Jimmy's femur and you're like, does Jimmy's spirit know that most of his body is here and that the femur bone doesn't matter? Can Jimmy's spirit walk in the spirit world now, or is he missing 20% a femur?
On land, 20%
in
ocean.
Your face.
Yeah.
Remember one of the
rest on the raccoon.
One of the best mimicry of that funny but not funny is War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, when he's running through all the people getting vaporized and he goes into the bathroom and his face is just covered in human and you're like, oh,
that's disturbing.
What else do we got? Anything else?
I saw that there were 26 new bacterial species found in NASA clean rooms of spacecraft. So these are clean rooms in spacecraft, and they not only survived the trip, but they were new bacterial species.
Yeah, did you read the documentation on macrophages? Listen, I'm a nerd. I'm just gonna say it. But there's amazing literature paper on or some amazing literature on macrophages and virus and how they change when they're up there. Both of them adjusting to the fact that they can't move as well to get to one another, and adjusting their energy usage to be less so that they're able to still, accidentally, because they don't really know exactly where something is, but still interact with one another. And they're like, most scientists who heard that, because I think that paper was just this last week, were like, holy shit, if we can have changes that fast, is it possible? So let me explain this. You know how we use viruses to cure some diseases?
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Imagine going to space, making a virus that has to work harder to do its job, and then grabbing it, cultivating it, taking it to Earth. So cancer, for instance.
And then it
but now it's fucking Superman, right? It comes to Earth with all the other viruses, and they're like, "Hey, who are you?" And it wears little glasses.
It's like training with body weights.
Yeah, it's got a body vest on.
But then the virus is all like,
virus is like, dude, I'm gonna fuck up cancer, and cancer's like, you can't get us. And that macrophage and the fucking virus is just like karate kicking the cancer out of somebody's body, like to the point where you just shit in pure cancer. Like, you could do stuff in space with medicines like that. That was some pretty cool literature. You should check it out. It's not a in-depth, like, they're not talking about every nucleotide and stuff. It's pretty easy to get. What else you got before we go?
They're going after dark oxygen. Remember we talked about this new thing, like the dark oxygen.
Everything's
so
dark.
They apparently
dark
energy, dark oxygen. So they found like some traces of oxygen being generated in like deep sea environments with no light.
I saw that. That's awesome.
Almost like in video games, like Subnautica with the bubbles or whatever. So they're sending out robots to check that out and see, because that would be a very big change in our understanding for just like astrobiology in general.
It would not only other planets and how life might exist in a place you'd never expect, but also us traveling there, figuring out a way to like create oxygen, because that's the big worry, right? I mean, there's ways to do it, but you have to there's a bunch of stuff you have to like take with you. That'd be cool, man. Yeah, I forgot reading about that. That's cool. But I think they said it was trace amounts beyond belief, right? It was
I think so. They haven't found like
you find a crab just Just he's got his cardboard straw, and he's fucking got it right up to the air
sucking
bubbles.
on the bubble.
What's up, buddy? Do you know what? Okay, hey, dude, this entices me, and I'll let you go because I know at some point you're gonna have to piss. But dude, one of the most interesting things, really, to me, this sounds so weird, but it's super interesting to me. The idea that there are water-bound species that still need air. I don't know why that, like a dolphin. Like, there's something where I'm like, dude, this fish figured it out. Like, dolphin, what the fuck are you doing? You got this I could kill a dolphin. I'll just stick my finger in his blowhole. That dude at some point is going to pass. It's like a chokehold from,
He has the
Brock
one
Lesnar.
central point of failure.
What a point of failure. It's just, and it's on the top of his fucking head. Like, I just cap it, and I'll be like, dude, you dead. No, it'll take a while. But
his most distinctive feature, like...
Yeah, you can put a stick in it. You'd be like, or a plunger on top of him. You'd be like, dude, dolphin, you're dead. But the shit fish is like swimming around. And then you look at how many honestly do need air to breathe. It's pretty weird when you think about it. Seals don't bother me as much because you see they don't have a blowhole, right? So you see them. But like when you see the creatures with blowholes and stuff, you're like, dude.
Isn't it the size?
What a shitty
like
design.
The big sea creatures, they're the ones that need the lungs.
Still need oxygen? Could be true, except sharks are fucking huge. And well, that is true. Sharks have to...
Don't they... Wait, what do they do? They don't take in air,
sharks,
do they?
No, it goes across... It basically, if you think, it aerates across their gills to create air.
Right.
So they don't need
that.
What if there was a shark? If a shark ever needs water, it's time to check off of Earth. Because that fucker's one step away from growing legs and fucking land shark in your ass. If you ever see a true shark, figure out that it needs to go up and breathe. Orca is scary enough. Orca are some pieces of shit. They're already, orca. I mean, dude, there's that video, I don't know if you've seen it, where the 3 trainers are talking, and the orca that's killed 3 trainers. The highest death, this guy's got a KD ratio that's insane, and he's an orca.
KD.
He's fucking, I'm telling you, he's 100 to 1. He hasn't died. And he's sitting there with his curled over fucking fin, and there's this glass wall, and you see the 3 trainers getting dressed, and orca already have a resting bitch face, right? Like, orca, you definitely have to tell it. You'd have to, congeniality.
Would definitely eat you, given the opportunity, by the way, kind of face.
And that orca's like, and I know, I'll perform for food, but if you give me too much, and it's playtime,
or too little,
I'll fuck you up.
Or whatever.
And they found that one lady who was fucking scalped. It had tore her legs off. It had played with her for a long time when it killed her. I mean, dude, orca they're chads.
It's dark,
but worse. Bro. Yeah, orca scare the fuck. Dude, orca are so scary. They're so scary. They know how to hunt well. Have you seen them create the wave? Where they create a wave to knock the seals off of icebergs?
Oh, wow.
Dude,
do they attack humans? Like out in the sea?
There have been a couple reports of it. I haven't seen any, but I would assume just by the sheer amount of deaths at sea, there's been the occasional one. I mean, you see seals. A seal killed it. I can't remember the name of it. It's not a bottlenose, but there's a seal that kills a swimmer, and you see it grab her behind and then pulls her down. She drowns, but they're pretty.
I feel like the seals drew the short straw because they're just sort of
seals
fumbling without arms. You know?
They're fumbling without arms. They breathe through their mouth. They bark like a dog. Not like a dog, but they've got like the basically we just put them inside of glass containers and throw fish at them. It's a pretty shitty life for a seal. But you don't many times hear about a seal, and you'll see a lot of trained seals. You'll see the chick, and the trained seal will you'll see the dolphins. Dolphins are, let's be honest, aquatic rapists. Like, you don't want to be around a dolphin, but you see a lot of female trainers around dolphins anyway, even though they have a bad rap. But it's orca that just kill. They're just, imagine what it would be like. Think about it this way. Orca are the life sentences of fish. A prison life sentence. You get them, you lock them in a little spot, and they're patrolling, and just like a prisoner, they're going to do some shit because they're bored. I mean, they're in isolation a lot of times. They don't have another one with them. It's usually just one by themselves. Like, that's a hard-ass life. So I'm telling you, if I was an orca, I'd for sure kill a trainer. Because have you ever heard that song, like, I killed a man just to watch him die? I feel like orca, that's their motto.
Damn.
Think about it. Because, dude, you'd just be stuck in a glass cage. You'd be like, you came in here, of course. And at some point you killed one, they still fed you, Johnny. They still fed you. So it's like, all right, what's the negative of killing the trainer? And this is hilarious. because you think it's fun. You're like, this is hilarious, pulling her apart. So you're just going to do it again. And you can't do therapy with a fucking orca because you can't get them on a couch. They're too big. So, like, how do you talk an orca down from killing people? How do you be like, hey, why did you do it? And the orca says, my dad beat me or whatever. It's not going to happen. It's just a pissy, giant attack fish that's going to fuck people up. You haven't
Isn't
seen
that
this
the same with lions and stuff? Like people, like you can't really get in the...
When a lion tastes people, it's like, then they kill them because they just figure out, because dude, a lion is sort of weird. Imagine you are like walking past a buffet and not knowing what it is, right? You walk past a buffet, there's chicken, it smells good, and you're like, I don't know what that is.
But then like once you try it, you go,
somebody
holy
throws
shit,
a piece of chicken and your mouth happens to be open. Yeah, and it gets in, you're like, wait, I've been missing this all my life. That's like a lion, man, where they're all, yeah, this human, it doesn't look good. And then they take a bite and they're like, wait a minute, this is fucking delicious. Like,
it's
this
the
is
best thing I've ever tried.
That, like, the fastest human is half the speed. Like, Usain Bolt would get destroyed by one. So it's just like, yeah, at some point they're like, dude, this is pretty fucking sweet. And humans are everywhere doing stupid shit. You got fat tourists walking around or driving in their fat Jeep with their fat people doing, and if I was a lion, I would just hunt tourists, because you could eat a tourist, and like an anaconda, you wouldn't have to eat for like a week. You get like a good hefty tourist and take that back to your cave, shove it down into like a hole to keep it cool for a while. What if there was a shark orca or shorka? That'd be scary as shit. What if there was an orca lion? A lorca, except you'd have to choose. Are you going to be on land or are you going to swim? Because if it was swimming, it'd look foolish. But if it was on land and you saw that fin coming over the Serengeti, like you're just sitting there in the desert, you're hanging out, and suddenly you see this fucking
dude, if
thing
I
coming.
see a fin, like,
if I see a fin
out
on
of
land,
water,
that'd be
I'm
scary as
just
shit. Dude, what if you're just sitting down and you look over and suddenly you see a fin coming towards you and you're like, what the fuck
I've
is
seen
that?
Sharknado, man.
Yeah, so have I. Yeah. It's and that's a true story. People don't know that, but that's a very true. Sharknado's true. Yeah, the tornado picked up a bunch of sharks.
To what extent, though?
Fully.
What are we talking?
Those are actually people who live. The actors. They're Ian Zerling from 90210 who acted in it. Those are for sure real. Anyway, what the fuck have we done? What do we do? Are we?
Dude, I don't know. I think we're done.
I do think a lorca would be pretty fucking cool. Anyway. Yeah, that's it for us. Things went a little south. I bet humans taste like
okay, but last thing though.
Oh, true.
If you mixed a shark with an orca, would it be like the shark where he doesn't have to breathe?
I think.
Like, what would be the combo?
That's your apex predator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Now you're hunting. Now you're underwater.
Just chill underwater the whole time.
Yeah. So you have to put the word first for whatever the major animal is. So it's a sharka. Or a shorka. So a shorka is going to beat an orshk, because it doesn't. Yeah, even if it lost a little like size, they don't ever have to go above water anymore, or they don't ever have to go for air. That means they can go deeper. You can stay.
They got better teeth, don't they?
Yep. And you can hunt, and they're just sitting there watching.
Yeah,
like kids will be swimming, and you'll look out, and there'll be orca, but they're not. Suddenly you don't see them coming up anymore. They're just sitting there in the water waiting because they're smart. Orca are like crazy smart. What if you mix an orca and a squid?
We're fucked.
That probably would be. Yeah, we probably would be.
Yeah.
Or what if squid ever learn how to like make their fucking tentacles like stiff so they can walk like an ant, but they're walking. So you're just sitting there
out of water, maybe.
Yeah, not like the squirrely shit you see a squid do when it moves from tide pool to tide pool. But I mean, like, what if you're watching this thing and then it's like brunk and it goes up like a face hugger and it's got its little fucking beak. Have you ever seen the beak on a squid? I mean, it's a beak, like a bird beak. That's how they get in.
Yeah, it has like
shells.
a little.
Yeah. Can you imagine that thing? Rears up like it's popping a wheelie like a dragster. And it's like, and just comes straight towards you and makes a sound.
And it's tall too. I mean,
yeah, it's about 6 foot.
Some of them
are huge. Well, the big ones are, yeah. I don't know if you'd be able to transfer the mass. Can you imagine that thing getting on land? Because it'd be like you getting out of the bathtub, but instead of an hour later, like 6 years later, you wouldn't even be able to get out of the bathtub. Can you imagine how like weak you'd be if you were well, I don't know, man. I don't know. Squids are pretty fucking strong. and they're underwater all the
It's
time.
like all muscle,
dude. And by the way, each one has a mini brain at the end of the tentacle to help it. It's like a cortex of nerves and like brain stem to help it move around because they're so
independent
dexterous.
brains, don't they?
Yeah.
Like
dude, and you know how they can grow an arm back? I've always wondered, can that arm grow a squid back? And that's where we'll end. Peace out, everybody. I hope you guys have
enjoy your nightmares. Yeah, great. Excellent.